handicap automatic doors.
Right.
If we're gonna gauge, I don't, it'll require one of those applications that you have.
Right.
So there's quite a little.
I was looking through the,
Always out there.
reading through it, and, I got it.
I don't know if you wanted a paper copy.
So you're, yeah.
I'm still old enough that I like paper.
Yeah, that'll work, thank you.
But I think you have to have a meeting.
Cover the,
Over a time period,
right.
so that way we don't start a war down.
No, I,
We also do broadcast meetings live on Facebook,
I don't
so you know, and also,
It's just, are we live now?
no, that.
we are live with sound on Facebook and.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yeah, and we're on the TV too.
Right, that's,
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
You were on the TV.
Yeah,
That's what-
no, I mean the actual TV,
Yeah.
like people on
I'll get
Swift
it.
Channel, Swift Resident, Spectrum.
Yeah. How's it going, man? Happy New Year.
Colin, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Sorry. I walked the wrong way.
I get it.
How are y'all?
How are you?
Good.
What did we sign your board?
Councilmember Dirk, can you hear us?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, if everybody's ready, we can get started. I'll call this workshop to order at 6 o'clock exactly, and I will turn the floor over to, I don't know, the hospital or Lou or who?
I can go first, and then we'll let the hospital continue after that.
All righty.
The hospital's looking at expanding to the west of the current location now. And in order to expand to the end of the, I'm gonna call it the Wagon Circle Medical Clinic, they would have to go over 23rd Street. So we're looking at, eliminating, 23rd Street. And in that, right away there, we have a water line, and we have a sewer line, that would have to be rerouted. We have an 8-inch sewer line and a 6-inch water line, run alongside that road, 23rd Street.
That runs north.
It runs north and then ties into, Elm Street in the center.
Okay.
I know we did have a meeting with the CEO and their attorney and Tom and myself, and we discussed, what they would need to do to bring to council. Basically just have them speak and let council know what their plan is.
And Mayor and Council, on the schematic that you have in front of you, there's a green shaded area, that's 23rd Street. So that's a dedicated public right-of-way. The idea would be to vacate 23rd Street, but only after the hospital annexed in that property that is to the west of 23rd Street. That's currently county property. And they would dedicate what is indicated to the far west of the property as a public right-of-way, to, take care of what would be the lack of right of access after 23rd Street was vacated. So that the property owners behind that parcel would still have access to their property. And behind that parcel, as everyone probably knows, is the First United Methodist Church that is, in the county, not in the city. So the idea being, annexation, dedication of that public right-of-way, and then vacation, of 23rd Street.
How would it get from the new proposed access back over to the church? That isn't very clear on this map.
Yeah, I don't think it is very clear, Mayor. I would propose, and I think it's all subject to discussion, that that new street to the west of that parcel have some sort of access that is dedicated down to where 23rd Street ends now. So along the northerly boundary of the parcel that would be annexed in.
Councilman Weisenberg?
I believe, currently there is a spot there that they use some too on the, it'd be the, southwest corner of the church's area that they actually have access to also. It's just a private road there. So I believe they can still access through the other road, cause it looks like the road that's proposed, that is the one next to the Western Hills Campground.
I believe so.
Yeah, and I can go into a little bit of detail on that if you'd like. The hospital purchased the property, which we call now the Log Cabin Clinic area, and, that property has obviously 23rd Street. The street that is back, which is shown as a potential future street, is actually an easement that the hospital now owns that has, granted an easement back to the property owners who have their homes and parcels up above that. And so the thought would be to have that go as basically a straight line, and then obviously along the upper side of that, between the hospital's parcel and United Methodist Church, would have a road to get into there as well. So obviously, we understand that if this is what we end up doing and you all would allow us to do that, we would need to make sure that United Methodist Church has access there. And so, what we wanted to do today was to really kind of talk about the concept and show you what we were thinking. I've got on the Zoom call, we've got, two of the consultants who have been helping us. David Anton from, Quorum Health has been assisting us in some of the master planning, and, Quorum and the hospital have engaged with, Coffee Engineering, which is a Wyoming-based firm, and we have Colin, Greason here, who is, who actually, he's the one who drew this and did all of the elevations and thing on it. And I didn't want to, as a hospital, go through and pay lots of money to put together formal drawings if I came here for this work session and you all were saying, no, we don't even want to have any significant discussion. So the hope today was to have a discussion and be able to conceptually talk about it. As we've talked with Tom, obviously the thought was, annexation of the property, dedication of the new road, which is not just that one side, but it would be, I kind of look at it as, backwards 7 up there, and then vacating on your part of the, 23rd Street once another street would be in. And then, to be honest, the 4th step for us would then be potentially the combining of the two parcels into one parcel. Because one of the options we're strongly looking at is building what I would say is the new hospital, or at least the clinical components of that new hospital, which would span the two parcels and would end up spanning 23rd Street. And so we're looking at different options, but we believe that this is one of the more effective cost-wise options for us as we evaluate going forward. And so as you look at it, in this particular drawing, there's a small, yeah, okay, perfect. We just put a small rectangle that crosses that green rectangle. that is roughly what we're saying maybe the new hospital would be at. Again, not really precise. Copy Engineering says, well, we'll just, show what it would look like. In doing that, we'd also need to relocate the helipad, because the helipad needs to be in close proximity to the emergency room. And so, right now, in this new buildings area would probably be our inpatient services, our emergency room, our surgeries, lab, imaging, those clinical services that the patients really come to the hospital for. And, we thought that, actually gets the helipad a little further away from homes, which is probably good. But conceptually, that was really what we wanted to kind of bring to you and talk about. David or Colin, anything you really wanted to add on that?
I'll speak up briefly here if everybody can hear me. Ken, you can give me a thumbs up. Okay, great. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to add other than just kind of piggybacking on what was just said, which is obviously we're very early in the process. We would have to do some more formal engagement of architect and bringing Collins firm on from a civil engineering standpoint once we get a better idea on the appropriate size for the clinical services that Ken just mentioned, how we're going to appropriately size the building, how exactly it might be laid out. To the point that was just made, just wanting to get an understanding of the annexation process as well as the road abandonment, if you will, process, so we can get the proper submittal documentation prepared and submitted. And then we would go into the next stage of our design and development, if you will, which is programming for the building, verifying kind of layout, scheme, size, exterior elevations, those types of things, put those together for part of the submittal package and really have a better conceptual plan here. Again, this was, it's very early in our process and just wanting to get a basic understanding and idea of the, of those two issues, the annexation and the road, potentially the road abandonment, so we can kind of proceed forward with our feasibility and our planning process. And with that, I can turn it over to Colin to add anything, and from there open it up to kind of any feedback or questions and maybe what our next steps might need to be in terms of submittal. But Colin, if you don't mind, anything you'd like to add?
No, I think David and Ken have done a fantastic job of laying out the challenge that we face here with this site. I'm just here to answer any questions that you as council members and mayor might have.
Great, thank you.
Kind of hands up, Sagabarty's first.
All I have is that I'm kind of like this. I think anything that would improve the hospital is a plus. I would like to hear from the public a little bit, see what their take is, the church, all this thing that's involved, but, I just don't see anything that could be that bad, that we're not trying to improve the hospital, make Rollins, Harbin County a better place, and so I would support at least looking into it and visiting with you folks, having the manager visit with you with any ideas or changes. As far as that goes, then it's a long ways down, and we start talking about the contract and about who does what, and that's a different ballgame there. I just would feel comfortable hearing from the public and hearing from the public and hearing what they have to say. I just don't, I can't foresee any problem, but things happen.
Absolutely, and we certainly appreciate it. Obviously, our intent is if this is appropriate and we move down that direction, we certainly want to make sure that this is a positive thing for this community and a positive thing for the United Methodist Church and a positive thing for the homeowners that are on the street, which would effectively become 23rd Street. So there are impacted individuals that certainly would need to be taken care of.
Councilman Garner, you got a question?
Yeah, on this road, would you guys repave the other road around? And would it be a completely replacement and just move the pavement?
Well, that would be my assumption, that would be what you would ask for.
Okay.
So our intent would be that, unless you told us you didn't want to pave, but.
Yeah, I wasn't sure, because the existing road's there, and I didn't know if you were just saying you would just use the existing one.
No, I think if I read the town codes correctly, we would be required to, put it in a similar, construction as to what it currently is.
Okay.
At least that's, when we visited Tom, that's what he shared.
That's, the discussion we had was as good or better a road than currently is there. And the hospital would also be responsible for moving the utilities, the water and sewer. There's a fire hydrant to the north of 23rd Street that's right on that corner, and I think we had some discussion about having to move that fire hydrant also. But conceptually, if this moves forward, those will be discussions we'll have down the road.
Councilman Smith?
Yes, I generally support this project. I think it's wonderful that we are looking at expanding the hospital. I did go out and look at the premises. I'm familiar with a lot of that out there, and my concern is to have a nice road put back, just as nice as what 23rd Street is. I would like to see the northern boundaries so that the Methodist Church is not impacted. There is a little road behind the church, I think, that goes up, and I don't think it's a public access, I don't know that, but I check it out, but it goes to all the homes in El Rancho. I think they go to the back and use that for when they clean out their backyards and things, so that would be impacted. But, if the Methodist Church and the property owners above the Methodist Church and to the west have no problems, then I would be very supportive of the project, and, I don't see any downfalls. I think, I do wanna know where you put the water and sewer lines, where would they go?
Well, we'd have to work with Lou on that, and I think he would have to, and obviously Coffee Engineering, they'd have to, people who are a lot smarter than me would tell us where they need to go.
Are they serving the hospital right now, those two?
No.
It just goes
It serves, I believe it serves our clinic,
Right,
and,
the clinic on there, there's just a little stub off that supports that clinic water-wise. And when it gets to our limits on our boundaries, that's where our maps stop. So I'm assuming that water line runs to the Methodist Church.
Okay.
And same with the sewer line coming off of that, the church side.
and we weren't 100% sure. Coffee Engineer, when they were looking at it, didn't see connections, but it's not saying that they're not there. So it may only go to the clinic, or it may go to the, church. So that's an investigation that would have to be determined. If it is only serving the clinic, we may be able to come up with an alternate mechanism. You know, maybe we, only stub it off of Elm or something. But if it is serving the church, we need to make sure that it gets there. But it is very near the end of the line, and so there's not a lot of sewer or water use, above it, but potentially the church. I just don't know if they're using it or not.
Thank you.
Councilman Weisenberg?
Yeah, I think you answered most of my questions. I'm very supportive of this also. I just wanna make sure the same thing as what they said. We have a nice road that, replaces that street, access to the church, access to the other property still with that, because that is a private road that runs through there kind of right now, so.
Yeah, I mean, we own the road, but it is a permanent easement that has been granted to that
The property
land.
owners,
So
so I.
we need to work with our attorney and with the town attorney to make sure that we were appropriately treating those folks. They have the right to make sure that they still have, I think this actually improves access for them. If, instead of being a dirt road, they have a paved road, it, I think, improves the quality of access
Yeah,
for them as well.
I would agree with that. It would very well improve everything up in that area, you know, especially if we could annex that into the city limits and everything too. As far as the Methodist church and the water and sewer, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe they do have city water and sewer up there.
As I'm saying, they could.
I'm pretty sure they do, but I will, you know, if that's the case, we need to reroute that. And I think it'd be a positive thing for the future, cause there's other potential, possible potential customers off of water and sewer that even if they're in the county, we could spur right off of that line in if this was to go through too. So another thing that I'm assuming, if this goes forward, it'll go to planning and zoning also.
Yes.
So, all right, thank you.
Vice Mayor Wells?
Off of that comment, my brother owns that property up there, and he actually has city sewer. So I know that it goes way past the church, yeah. I 100% support your project.
Thank you. I guess I get to go last.
You get to say the month.
Well, I think this is a great project. I've always been for the hospital. I've been involved in the hospital. I'm glad to see that it has the potential to grow. That's awesome. My only concern has been said many times, just the continuation of the service north of that parcel and how those people can get in and out of their property and use their property, and then the rerouting of the easements for the water and sewer, which probably have to do some of that anyway, just to do what you're wanting to do. Correct. Fully support it.
And, not noted for the city here, but there'll also be some rerouting of, electric power poles as well.
Yeah, there'll be all kinds of things. By the time you get done with all the steps you're gonna go through, you'll be highly scrutinized.
Well, yeah.
Of course.
Because we'd be going through this committee, and we'd be going through the planning and zoning, we'd be going through the state. I mean, there's lots of opportunities for review to make sure that we're doing it appropriately. And to be honest, our board still has to look at and determine what the best process for us is as well. And we still have to finalize any financing. So right now, this is a great concept, and we think that we've got the things in place to get there. But the financing is not lined up yet, so that takes a little bit of time as well. So I don't want everyone saying, hey, the hospital's gonna break ground, tomorrow. That's not the case. There's still a lot of work. We're on step 1, and actual building is probably step 50.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of work to be done, and we believe our partnership with the city is great. That's why I initially had the conversation with Sean. We've had the conversation with Lou and Tom, and we wanted to have the conversation with you because we believe that it was important to make sure that this was at least a concept that you were supportive of, knowing that we have to do the right things to treat people right. And so we'll be moving, based on what I'm hearing, we'll start moving down that path a little bit more. We'll have some more conversation in our board meetings and probably be back in contact with Lou as we put more information together. And I know that any submittals, we would go through the process. And as we talked to Tom, we know that the steps are fairly clear. Annex it in, then we give the new road. Then once the new road's in, then you would vacate the old road, and then we can merge the properties. So it's a 4-step process, and we understand the order of that. Tom's been very clear. That way, we're not taking away access to folks and saying they're gonna get it a year or 6 months later. They have to have access before we take it away, which I think kind of makes sense.
And going forward, the board, we're gonna be good neighbors to everybody. That's how we operate, that's how this board operates, that's why the hospital's been successful. We're gaining a lot of ground, we're gaining a lot of volume. People are now seeing Memorial Hospital as a real strong entity of Carbon County, including Rawlins. Place we built, property we bought, we're an aggressive board. We know that we can't stand still. If we're going to improve this community in Carbon County, you have to move forward, you just have to. So that's kind of where the board, its vision is at this point. We got a long ways to go, but we're all in, we're all vested.
Councilman Smith?
I'm curious, I know the latest, when I I was on the hospital board, we put on the wing for the ER. And so if you move the ER and the surgery, I think your surgeries are on top floor, second floor, something like that. Then you're moving those down more to that, so how would you, what are you putting in the older wing?
That's a great question.
are you-
And to be honest, we don't have all of those answers yet. We've got some concepts as, Mr. Anton was out in the end of November walking with us. He indicated, you know, even though we'll leave a lot of services in the old structure, like admin, it doesn't matter where I'm at, I can be in any office. A lot of our billing folks don't have to be in a new office, we can be in an older office. Purchasing can stay where they're at. So we have some things that we know that can stay, but that's part of the planning to really lay out that, and we're not quite there yet. So the answer is I honestly don't know.
There's a lot of options that will be discussed. This was the first step in putting together those options, to know that we have this option if we choose to go down this road.
And some of the options may be, demolishing certain, because the hospital building as is actually 3 buildings. You've got the administrative building, you've got the 3-story tower building, and then you've got the ER 2-story building. And so we'll have to be looking at that, and part of that process is, do we get rid of parts of the existing hospital? Answer is though, we're not 100% sure.
Yeah, and this is David. I'd just like to add to that. That's exactly right. I mean, we'll probably come up with a couple of different scenarios and schematic plans that we'll put some budgeting to, and as Ken noted, you know, kind of vet that out with financing options. There might be some concept plan that includes some demolition of existing building because it'd be more expensive just to keep it open and maintain it with old equipment and maintenance of that than just to demo it, but we might still put into use some other areas of the building. So that's part of our process, is really that master planning next step, is to come up with some realistic concept plans, put some budget numbers to that, generate some pro formas, look at financing options, work through some preliminary construction budgeting, and things of that nature. So that is definitely our next step, and that kind of gets to the point of that's going to take resources, time, and money that we don't want to go too far down that process if we find out we meet some sort of a roadblock, so to speak, with what we can or can't do with the property, the road, the layout, and those things. That's why this is such an important first step for us, is to make sure, or at least get that type of indication that you've all provided, which we're happy about, a very preliminary endorsement for such a project, and we'll continue to work with Lou on getting the proper submittal that's needed to really kind of help formalize the concept. So that's kind of where we are.
That was a long answer to a short question. Was that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm good at long answers, so.
I just want to say I appreciate the hospital being in Rollins. It's a real asset to our city, having that hospital, and saved my life a couple times, and
Well, and the organization has come a long ways.
it has.
We really have, so.
Yeah, I know. We just about didn't have a hospital.
So do you.
But the other thing is, and this is clear off the subject, completely off, I'd sure like to see us have a dialysis set up here in Rollins. There's so many people that travel. One night I was at Walmart and met an older couple, and when I say older couple, you know how old they are. They're older than me. And it was snowing and blowing and just crazy, and they were worrying about, I said, what's the matter? You know, you could tell they were panicking a little, and well, we gotta get to Casper to get dialysis, and if we don't go tonight, the roads will be closed, life or death matter, and I almost started crying for them. I would have loved to, if I didn't have to work, I'd have taken them, but that is something I'd really like to see our community get.
Ken and I had that discussion over breakfast last week. You know, it's not an easy thing to put together for a community of this size, but it's certainly on the table. So,
Yeah, I mean, and we're looking at multiple options. Some of those may be, starting small, where we're doing inpatient dialysis first and then grow it. And so we may not be able to get on the dialysis to the end point quickly, but we may need to move, because, you know, we recognize there are times that the roads are bad and people can't get there.
There's a lot of people that need that service, and it's not an option either, it's a life or death. And
Well, we very much understand that, and for us, it's balancing all of the resources we have, and while under this board's leadership, we've been fortunate to, continue to grow the hospital and improve some of the, financial position of the organization, we still have limited resources, and so it's really looking at how we use those resources, and absolutely, as we try to sit down and strategize and make sure that I put the board agenda together the way he wants it, we are looking at dialysis. That is one of the options that we'll be looking at this year.
I know there's certain services that the hospital offers that are not profitable, you know, and it's just a matter of being a county-owned, public service thing.
Well,
And I recognize this is a very expensive one, but I'm glad to hear you're at least discussing it, because sometime it needs to happen.
Absolutely, we certainly agree. I mean, we have certain service lines that generate, revenue, and other service lines that generate a lot of expense, but ultimately, our mission is to improve the health of individuals who reside in Carbon County. And,
so they don't.
we take that seriously, and we think we've done a good job the last 2 years of really building that primary care base throughout the county. First with the new clinic here in Rollins, and then the new clinic out in the Platte Valley, and a remodeled clinic in Hannah. So we think we've done a good job of kind of building that primary care base and working to provide some advice and direction to the clinic in Medicine Bow. So we've been doing things to help in that regard. That was an important first step for us to be able to do, so that we could look at the second step, which is expanding some of the services within the hospital. Because primary care is what feeds the inpatient and the outpatient surgical services of the hospital. And so, did step one, now we're on step two.
Councilman Smith?
I know this isn't in your bailiwick, but when I heard you originally thought about, constructing a new hospital on another location, I was hoping that you would give the assisted living, group a shot at having, remodeling what you have for assisted living.
And that's a possibility still. I have been going to the assisted, living meetings. And I think we're gonna be meeting in January this month again. And we'll need to, Jackie, I think you periodically have come to that as well. But there are some other options we're looking at as well, but we've already, as a hospital, potentially offered our nurse dormitory, if we needed to do that for assisted living. We said that's a possibility. But, you know, if we vacate the space, maybe the third floor could be used in that capacity. We could give it to, that assisted living group is probably gonna have to create some kind of 501c or some kind of organization that can handle that. But the hospital board, potentially could donate some of those assets, or we could make the recommendation and the county commissioners could donate some of those assets in that regard. And so we've had conversation about the nurse dorm, but I think some part of the hospital might be a wonderful option for that as well.
Thank you for keeping that in mind.
Yeah, it's certainly needed, we know that. There's it's so many things. You know?
One step at a time.
One step at a time.
Yeah.
You know, at one time, when, that one, project took place with the extra, sales or whatever. I was a commissioner at the time, and there were people saying, why are you fixing this? You should, and they kinda made us feel bad. They said you should have tore it down and started over. Are we in that position again?
Well, you know,
Good question.
that's a great question. I mean, as I look at it this week, and we had a couple of smaller failures, which we tend to have, we're going through and we're fixing systems. And so for the last 2 years, while we've had some pretty big challenges and problems, we had a catastrophic failure of the heating pipes, which actually shut us down as a hospital for a month. We kept the ER open, but the inpatient was shut down for a month in early 2020. The board has been very wise in enabling us to use some resources to improve systems. And so a lot of work still to be done. There are some systems that we probably can fix. There are some systems that probably, it's not good money to spend, you know, for 2 to 5 years. But, that's the thing we're looking at every kind of significant capital project. You know, we had conversations about, do we need to replace the MRI? Not that the MRI we have isn't good, it is good, but it is very near the end of life. And the decision that was made on that MRI was, at least at this point, it makes sense for us to not build that and save some of that money so that we can put it into a new hospital, which means a little less financing that we have to get. And so the answer is I think the building's a structurally sound building, but there's some utility components of it that need work.
Well, and I just remember that happening and second guessing what we were doing and thinking, and no pun intended, just so we don't stick Band-Aids on the problem, you know?
Well, you know, as an organization, there was a lot of Band-Aids that got put on that building.
Oh, it's deferred maintenance from ever, yeah.
And, you know, half of what we're doing in repairing problems now is because deferred maintenance was not done. And, I told our engineering crew, if they come to me with a Band-Aid solution, you know, they can put their resume together, because I don't wanna. We have an obligation to take care of this community, and part of that is making sure that we have the resources in terms of a physical plant to be there. Again, we're gonna be cautious, and sometimes we're gonna choose different things, like the MRI. We don't have to replace it. Now, if the MRI goes down, we'll be compelled to do it sooner. But the MRI is one that, you know, if I knew I didn't have to build a new building, we probably would have looked to put a new MRI unit in. That would have got us 10 or 15 years of life. But, you know, if we can get 2 to 3, 4 years out of the existing magnet, why spend it and then pay to move it? So we're making those kind of decisions. We're entering in with our elevator maintenance contracts. We're keeping some maintenance contracts going as opposed to replacing elevators. If I'm gonna stay in that building for 15 years, I probably don't need 4 elevators if I move all the clinical stuff. So we'd probably abandon an elevator. There's one that I think is nearing the end of its life. And so we're making those.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Mayor, it's the one, we'll name it after you, you can get Enemy, no problem. So it's working fine, but, you know, it's getting close to that end of life, and so we're looking at all of those kind of decisions. We felt that we needed to take care of the building, so last year we put a new roof on the 3rd floor completely, so that we could mitigate some of the leakage that was occurring. And so we're constantly looking at, in every project, trying to decide, does it make sense or not make sense?
And I can almost assure you, although I'm just one piece of this puzzle, going forward, there won't be any elevators in the new facility, no matter how we decide to do it. It's virtually on one sound. We have the property. Those elevators, they cause a lot of cost, there's a lot of maintenance, they're hard for for people to move. There's better ways to do things this day and age, so. That's just kind of an FYI, so.
Wow, that's his opinion, I think that's the collective opinion of everyone, so.
My dad was a maintenance man in the hospital in Torrington for 40-some years, and we got stuck in an elevator, and he was kind of short, and I had a heck of a time him hoisting me up through that hole, you know, and I've had nightmares every time I get in the elevator.
No, so right now, they're all working fine, but there is one that's not gonna give us 15 years.
Sure, they have a lifespan.
Correct.
I'm excited, I hope you guys get this done while
Thank you.
I'm alive.
A lot of work.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It'll be great.
Well, again, we appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And,
Thank you all.
if there's anything the hospital can do, we're excited about your new economic development processes. The hospital, one of our, I guess, platforms that we look at in our strategic plan is making Rollins a better place, making Carbon County a better place. And so we're not just simply focused on the hospital, we're trying to get involved in the community and help in those in a lot of other ways. So we're excited with what you're doing for economic development. We're thrilled with Sean's leadership, and I told him that we're happy to help in other ways as well. So if there are things that you see the hospital needing to do, you know, let us know. We have limited resources, but what we do have is individuals who can help with time, and I think that's why we're on the Assisted Living Committee. That's why I'm now on the County Economic Development Corporation, which will work very closely with your economic development. So if there are things that you see we're doing or not doing, please let us know.
Thank you, and the same to you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
If you need us for anything, let us know. Vice Mayor Wells had something to say?
I just wanna thank you, especially Ken, that he's been very active in the community, which was not there before. And I think it's been much appreciated, and things like being on boards, it's nice to see the hospital more involved.
Thank you. We work hard at it there, and we know we have the right leader. So we're gonna move forward and see if we can make this all a better place to live. But, thank you all.
Thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Guys.
I just wanted to second, what Jackie just mentioned, that I really enjoyed our meeting when we first started talking about this project, and your willingness, you even mentioned that we were trying to get a business to come in here to, you know, give them that full view of what Rollins can be like, that you would participate even on those sorts of visits, and I just think that's exceptional, and, you know, partners working together, so, just like everyone else said, I'm really excited about what you're doing and to work together.
But I didn't know your mom was here since I'm on the board with her. I'm glad I gave her a plug.
All right.
Gonna have good food.
Anything else? Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thanks, Mayor. Thank you all for serving.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you later, Ken.
See ya.
Enjoy
the rest of your
meeting.
Are you next Wednesday?
Yes.
I will, you know I will. Right, absolutely.
I'll go
I
by.
got it.
Is he off?
Good.
You're not starting in the coming days? Awesome, and then this one too. Thank you, Ken, have a good night. You guys have a good one. Start up the
Congratulations.
Yeah, no, I don't know.
I don't think any of us know really that it's a birthday,
We're
I'll go grab it when you get back.
See, you're always thinking
So we're going to do a work session in approximately 10 minutes. We'll go on additional, just to talk about the calendar report. I'm gonna leave it.
Yeah, Mike and,
I guess-
told me that week that it happened.
It's just, oh, yeah.
I lost contact with him.
It was just a
on January 7th, Friday. This is, and actually, before I start going through each one, you'll see on the left-hand side, there's a diamond. And those are specifically things that you should worry about, basically. That those are council-related items. The rest of them are staff, internal stuff that we're doing. So internally, we'll just do a budget kickoff this Friday with the department heads and kind of go over everything that we need to accomplish for the budget session, and season. And then we've got the strategic planning session with Matt Dixon, this, that Saturday, January 15th.
What time is that at?
I believe it was gonna be like 7:30 in the morning, where we will have breakfast and then we would jump into it, hopefully. But I'll give you before we actually have it, I'll send out all the final details. So January 28th, we have basically all the city hall related departments that we'll actually do a little presentation of their information to, myself and to our finance director. And so that would include their budget and the capital items and, just the basics there. And then we've got oh, yes, I do, I've got some. Here you go. Two more. So we are also working on the salary study right now, and I would say that we're within a month of being able to finish up everything with the salary study. And so that is just the due date that we have for, our employees to kind of finish up. And right now where it's at is with our department heads, they're just working with their employees, and we're just making final tweaks to it, basically. And then we've got, police, fire, parks and rec, that their budget would, they'll do a little presentation to myself and finance. Public works, community development, engineering would do the same thing on February 18th. February 22nd, the strategic plan project ideas submitted. So what we were thinking with this is, on going back up to the first blue item, when we have the strategic planning session, we'd like to have a collective goal with the council and our department heads. So I really want to get more of council's specific projects in mind this year, because I think a lot of it was more, we took that ball and we ran with it, very specific projects, but I would like to collaboratively work on that together this year. And so, after we have the strategic planning session, if we can take basically about a month and just come up with the very best projects that you think that we could try and go with for this next fiscal year, and basically submit those on February 22nd. And then I'll collect all of yours from council, your very best ideas, and we'll work on the department head side and, collect our ideas and bring them together. And then, later on, down here, we'll actually, what I'd like to do is go through a process like we do with the strategic planning session, where we get all those ideas on a board, and we can go up together and put stars on our favorite ones, kind of prioritizing all of us together. So, hope you all like that idea. Then we've got salary spreadsheet due to, human resources stuff. So if there's any changes to, let's say someone retired and then we replace it with a new person, it's just kind of, making sure we have all the right budget numbers. The Wednesday, March 2nd, department head team review all strategic plan ideas. March 8th, council department head strategic plan project prioritization. Sorry, I kind of jumped the gun on that. That's what I was talking about before, where we can prioritize together as a group. March 15th, strategic plan budget costs. So once we come up and we can kind of get an idea of these are the projects we want to go with, we'll take a week or so and do our very best to get some dollar figures attached to that. And then those can be sent off to myself and finance. And then March 18th, finance review completed, so everything needs to be to Jody by then, from our department heads. And then she and I will actually individually meet with each department head again and make sure that we're all on the same page, basically. The salary study presentation to council, we'd like to go, and actually we'll invite that third party that helped us do the salary study, invite him to come and present with us that day. So you can see the whole scope, how we went through everything, and the conclusions that we came to, and possible ways how we can actually implement the salary study. So I think that will be really good and will fall in line here. And then we've got March 23rd, citywide department specific. This is in green because this is some stuff that we, so the budget itself that we want to adopt this year will be just a little bit different from last year. We talked to Kathy on what are the basic minimum requirements for what we need to adopt in the budget. And that is the budget message, the actual budget dollars, and the capital budget. And that's what we can adopt. And then everything above and beyond that, which, you know, we had that huge packet last year, supplemental information. We still want to do a bunch of supplemental information, but when we're actually adopting it, it's just gonna be those three things. Just keep it simple. March 23rd, I'll do my final review and tweaking, and then we'll get a draft budget to council. You'll have that, and those three things that I just mentioned. And then we have all the presentations from the nonprofits. One evening, we'd like to do all City Hall, all those departments, which would fall on a regular council meeting. It would be that work session, so that we can handle a smaller group that evening. And then the next day would be police, fire, parks and rec. The next day would be public works, community development, engineering. And then the subsequent week, we would discuss, this is another change that I wanted to do better this year, is I would really want to get council's input in a better way. So I'd like to maybe start with just budget, since the council would have heard everything from everyone at that point, we can just start as a group and say, okay, let's start with budget. Are there, you know, anyone in the council that has any budget changes or didn't like something that was presented, needed more clarification? Then we'll go through all that, and then we can go into the next part, with like capital, and then we can just tackle all the capital stuff, and then go into strategic and so on. And then we should, at that point, have all of your ideas, and we can finalize the budget with your input.
Sean, where does this impact money come in? When does it come in? When does it kick in? I mean, that's money that we didn't anticipate having, all of a sudden we started to get it. When does that kick in? And when do we as a council get an opportunity to put a policy together as to how that money should be spent?
Yeah. So we actually, I'm glad that you just mentioned that I don't think we specifically called that out, but I think we should. So for sure, on the date that we were just talking about, April 12th, I would like to get council, like at that point, we're trying to finalize whatever projects we want to do with the impact assistance.
Well, then the other thing is that, seems to me the way I would do my house is that if I got all this money, we would figure out how we're gonna spend this money. That would be taking the place, relieving a lot of the pressure off the budget, because we'd be using impact money, and so that would free a little bit more money in our budget.
Yeah.
What are the steps on those things? How does that work?
So I'm thinking with this process, we could first bring the impact assistance, the money that we have and how we can spend it on the April 5th when we do the city hall and all those, presentations. And then the council can think about options that we have or priorities that you may have. And then on the April 12th, we'll really be looking to council to prioritize and say, yeah, this is what we want to do with the impact assistance. Would that work?
Yeah, because we have some projects going, our water project is a big project.
Yeah.
And if we could help that project along with impact money, that would be something that we could do, which to me is impact, is water, is working on the water. We have, a large, water meter project that has to take place in order to be fair with all the people involved. It's not just some people get by with, flat rate, some people get impact money. And I'm just throwing some things out, but I was just wondering how that takes place.
Yeah, so, and that idea, like the water meters, is something we had on the capital budget this last year, but we took it off because of so many of the unknowns, but we'll definitely be bringing that one back.
Okay.
And then just to finish this off, on April 29th, we should have basically everything put together, the key budget, and then all the supplemental documentation that we'll be working on that kind of, especially for residents, as they're looking at this, it's easier to look at and more of like the friendly version, I guess you could say, in some ways. And then we've got the first, second, and third adoption. But the goal here is really to have way more input from council all along the way here. And so if you guys have any feedback for me on this.
I think this is better than last year. I think I like it better.
There's a lot of meetings too, we wanna make sure that's okay. So we tried our very best to spread this out, so it wasn't, we're having 4 or 5 in a single week. There's one week that we've got 3 meetings in 3 days in a row, but did our best to spread it out as much as we could.
I will say this, it's a lot of meetings, but if we're going to, if we are going to be the ones making these decisions, we have to spend the time to do that, so.
Yep.
It's time well worth spent.
Is there any other concerns or additions we need to make, anything? I just wanna make this really, really great.
Mayor,
Councilman Smith?
I don't wanna be negative, but I want to share a concern. When you start so early, like in January, this is only half a year, so I'm wondering how, the departments will know what carryovers they're gonna have, with what projects they haven't finished. Are they just gonna project from that point on and hope that they get done by June 30th, and if not, we carry it over and carry over the projects, or what are the thought processes on that?
That is true. I mean, it is a little bit early for them to be putting stuff together, but, really our final deadline for them would be right around the beginning of March. So it's kind of tricky because you don't want to get too far ahead, but you don't want to get too far behind either. We want to make sure that we're.
You have to have a crystal ball to be absolutely perfect.
I think we'll do, for the most part, I think a lot of, there were quite a few changes last year to the budget, and I do think that this year, for department heads, there's not gonna be as many changes as there was before, because they've now been here a year, and the changes shouldn't be as drastic or different. Yeah, it should be a little bit easier.
I think this is gonna be a lot of help. I think that it's gonna do away with that. There were times where, people would come to us and say, look, we got this, we wanna do this, we found some money. After we've already had all these meetings, agreed on our budget, so we would say, by the way, we found some money, we wanna do this. That will do away with a lot of that. We have it all right here.
But if you can find money, go ahead. I don't want them to stop finding money.
Well, and I don't mean it that way.
No, I know what you mean.
I mean, if they come up with a plan that we don't know about, all of a sudden, there's, oh, we got this plan, and how you gonna pay for it? Well, we found this money.
Yeah.
That would do away with, if we had something like this, it would pretty much do away with a lot of that.
I think this is a good process. All right. I was thinking the meeting started at 7, so I was rushing around, it starts at 7:30. I'm either a half hour early or late.
No, I have another item we could talk about.
Sure, we got time.
We've got the new ward map. You wanna look at those?
Yeah.
I tried to compare them, but I was looking on my phone,
Yeah.
and I didn't see a lot of difference.
No, there is a lot of difference.
Is there?
I lose about 1,000 people.
The current
was very clear that we could,
This is just a phone,
many options.
and this is the one.
She was clear about what. That we could message it in a lot of ways. I'll make.
What that does.
Is that a Word doc?
Is,
It is.
it takes
Okay.
Ward 1
I
all
mean,
the way
I'll
up,
take a copy, but I
and
can
you
just
get
pull it up here.
this little section here that's split out between Ward 3 and Ward 1.
Yeah.
And it pulls it back to Daly Street for Ward 2. Is the major
Is this
change.
to even out the population, is that the goal? Or the region?
What was your question?
If the goal was to redistribute the population.
The goal here is we took the census, when we did this years ago, the county clerk's office has a computer and they base it on the voting and where people live. And so they pop up and they populate how many are in a certain block, and so they took the wards probably and then clicked on that until they got as equal a number as they can get in the different wards, and keep the boundary lines as pristine as they can, so that when people come in to vote, it's easy for the election judges to tell them where they need to vote.
Yeah, there is quite a difference, I guess.
There is.
And Gwen, I think in the last email from her, she just wanted to get the council's feedback if everyone was okay with the new boundaries, or if there were some issues or concerns that she wanted to know if we needed to fix anything.
So the word's gonna affect.
Pretty much, it would be hard to change because it's population based. I mean, you might be able to give up 10 or get 10, but, and move a line, but I don't know that you would accomplish anything.
You know, the processes are, statewide, this is a statewide system that they use, and so I have high confidence in, the computer work that they do. It comes out of the Secretary of State's office too, and it's been previewed before, so I have high confidence in the numbers.
Did they evaluate this every 10 years? In the census?
Yeah, every time there's a census.
Every
Do you know, did we lose the population of the pen? Is that what happened here? I know they were talking about it, but I never heard.
You know, I don't know,
I
but
think they ousted them,
I think,
and they don't get to vote.
No, I mean, for our census,
For census, no, they count them.
but they were
they
talking
were
about.
talking about how, like, if
Having
the guy's in jail from Torrington, Torrington gets,
Yeah,
and so
but I don't
forth.
know if they actually
But I don't
did
know
that
if
or
they
not.
changed that, where like historically, those votes went to Carbon County. Or those
Those
not
numbers,
votes,
yeah.
those numbers
Yeah,
went to Carbon County, but,
it does count the pen then.
But-
yeah, it's supposed to count, it used to count the PIN and the
Yeah.
resident number in Ward
Right.
1.
And that's still.
But here's my major concern, is this 8,221 is almost 1,400 less than our 9,600 number.
That's
that
why I
we
was
reached.
wondering if the pen,
well, there is a question as to whether we wanna challenge the census numbers.
The reason we would,
But-
Mayor, would be because it affects the formulas on what we get from federal grants and other distributed money through the state of Wyoming.
Yeah, but only, it does affect it, but we can only correct it if it's wrong. So, I'm not sure,
If it's wrong,
If it's
I'm
wrong.
not sure. I just think that it didn't get all of the people responding is what I think.
well,
I don't think we lost that many people.
you know, I can tell you this, my wife works for the Census Bureau, and, they had to go to every house.
oh, yeah.
And if they didn't respond, they went back and back and back, and then if you didn't answer your door, they would go to your neighbors and say who lives there and how many people live there and so forth, because Debbie had to do that. They actually sometimes sent her out in the country where there was a camper that was parked for a couple of years to see if anybody lived there. They must have done it through
They went to my lake
Google or
house.
something, yeah. And Debbie ended up clear in Utah doing that.
Is this accurate, population, 82?
That's what
I
we're
don't know,
wondering.
that's what I'm
So
telling
that means
you.
we lost 3,000 people, because I can show you in my basement where I have some documents showing we had 8,500 people. we had 8,500, then it jumped to 12,000 during that boom,
Yes,
then
it
went right back down to 85.
And then I think as far as you look on our
And now it's showing
Song
82, so we have less people now than we did in 1973.
and I think we need to look at our water bill as a residents, that's how we could determine a little bit about how many people that we really actually have. But I can tell you from being in the real estate business, the housing stock is, the rentals are doing well. We don't have, very many homes that are on the market. We're down to what, 40 something? And that tells me that there's people living in homes and people have been rehabbing some of the older homes.
Well,
So that's what I'm thinking, that's why I'm challenging this 8,200 number, because it's just, that 9,640 10 years ago, that was on our sign, and now we've lost all this, I'm not sure.
I called the census today,
Yes, please.
and, I just asked what the process was to contest it, and on the website, it just said that they would send us a packet of information. They're trying to kind of make it hard for people to contest, I think. So I sent them an email requesting the information, and when I get it, I'll try and contest it. I'll do whatever I can to, if they made a mistake, then hopefully they can correct it in our favor, but we'll see. We'll just see what happens.
and Linda, to your house count,
Mhm.
families are smaller now.
Well, there's an average.
I mean, and
number
I don't know if that does it, but
UW
Jabari and I talked about it, there were 4 houses on South Side that there were 4 families in 4 houses, and between them 4 families had 48 kids total. You don't see that anymore. And it's,
They
So-
all left, they left Rome. There
So-
were younger kids that moved away.
so I don't know, if the amount of houses is equal to the amount of people,
Well,
you
I
know what I
just
mean?
know what UW uses for their, they've got a little program that they estimate.
How many people per house, do you know?
Yeah, I'm not sure anymore, 2.5, something like that, 3 point something.
I just curious.
UW would know, but I just wanted to tell you, I'm not feeling good about that 82. But you have a good point, they need to check and see if the penitentiary's involved.
Yeah, that's what I was
So
gonna,
they had
I'll
it
ask
bid
about that.
every year previously, and I know it went to the legislature, but I don't know what happened when it went to the legislature, if they shot it down or what. So, I know our representatives were fighting against it, cause those 600 plus inmates help our population, and we serve those people. Our utilities serve those people, you know,
Our police, our
hospital,
hospital,
our police, our workforce, so.
We wonder if the decrease has to do something with the expense.
That would be my question.
well, when you get that packet, it might be worth an extra workshop for us all to sit down and go, does this make sense, does this sound right, or,
If it's passed, it's kind
You
of
know.
sneaked in there though.
what's that?
If it passed, it was kind of sneaked in there.
Oh, well, welcome
Well,
to
they're
the
not-
legislature, I mean,
And if they're not counting the penitentiary, that's probably where the population went.
That's why
it could be.
The 82 to,
But I don't think that happened, and I'll tell you why, because several people were calling me and hollering at me about it, and then I think, and then it just kind of went away, so I think they defeated it and left it like it was, but
John
it
Burkhart
wouldn't
would know.
surprise me if,
John
I don't know.
If they return phone call.
What's our timeline on this?
That's right.
We can test.
Sean, what is our timeline on this, board, and our feedback to the county clerk?
I am not sure. She made it seem like it wasn't like a rush, like it has to be this moment, but I don't have a defined date. I could find that out too.
I don't think it'll matter until April-ish, and that's when you sign up for, to run, is in April, but, and by then, for sure, it has to be settled. Now, how much sooner, I don't know.
She probably has to have it done before March 15th, because she begins election processing.
Right.
And so all the ballots and stuff will have to be configured according to the new boundary line.
Won't there be some confused people when they go to vote?
that they drew the boundary lines,
Yeah.
and I know where I lived on Davis Street, I was voting in Sweetwater County.
Well, that's the state, representative and the senator, the two, the senators are longer, and then representative, yeah, you had a little finger,
They're trying to
and
do it
now
again.
there's a finger up
Yeah.
here on Redstad area that goes with Sweetwater, yeah.
Well, and they're trying to
That's
get
a
rid
whole
of
thing.
seat 47, which is held by Jerry Paxton at the moment.
Mhm.
And he serves all of Carbon County, clear over to Farson, and to, Rock River, and south to Colorado, and everything except St. Clair and Rollins. And Don Burkhart does St. Clair and Rollins, and then Larry Hicks does all of that, both areas. But they were talking about getting rid of Senate seat 11, which is Larry Hicks,
Just getting rid of it?
Mhm.
and getting rid of House seat 47 because of the decrease in population.
They wanna expand all that out over, so all of our stuff will be represented out of Green River if it goes through.
I think it bears us looking at it.
And then we'll know how Rock River feels when they're up against Laramie.
We'll be just trapped in between?
We'll be the guy in the back row is what I worry about.
I know the penitentiary people can't vote, but they're still in the ward and they are counted in the census, and they are counted for the redistricting for the ward.
Well,
Unless the state laws change.
Kathy, do you happen to know on this redistricting, they were talking about taking the penitentiary out of, like, if you're from, in the pen and you're from Torrington, that goes to Torrington?
There's been a lot of scenarios bounced around, but it'll be interesting to see what finally sticks.
It isn't settled yet. Oh, okay. It's scary. We could end up with no representation, which is not too far from where we're at.
Then our population's down to 7,000.
Well, it would make a difference, they all vote the same. What difference would it make whether we have a representation or not? If you look at the record, you'll see that they all vote together.
But
They're all Republicans, Davari.
That's what I say.
I do think it bears us looking at it too and having input into it. But yes, we need to know if the penitentiary is involved, so, 'cause that makes.
Well, and then you get that packet, if it's feasible for us to protest and seems reasonable, but I don't wanna go through a bunch of work to find out, no, they're right. Cause I bet it's gonna be a lot of work to
And might be
protest
money.
and maybe money, more than likely money. It would disincentivize us.
But remember though, at the national level, and I'm not going to say any names, but the census, administration, that was doing the census, they were getting new data and new information, and they just made an artificial deadline, and said, that's it, we're not doing any more corrections or anything else on the census, and that's from the Bureau on down, which would have affected who went out and did this kind of work. Now, I'm not saying that they did anything wrong here, because I know good people did these things, but I just remember that being a real contentious thing at the national level at one point in time, and that could affect why there wasn't anything done after a certain point, and that was probably last February, March, 2020.
I always told the joke, my wife, census, cause she had another job around it.
She did good. No, they're good people.
Well, they worked hard, but it was really,
Yeah.
she couldn't tell me a lot, but it looked confusing to me, to be honest with you. It looked disorganized and confusing now, whether it was or not, I don't know, but that's just kind of the way it looked to me.
But other than the question of the population and stuff, I don't have any major heartburn over the way that it's been drafted or proposed.
I'm assuming that if this number is right, then this would be okay, cause how else you gonna do it? Like you might move a line, but then
Well,
you have to move another one.
yeah, see, they're pretty crisp this way, if you look at what they were the last time, little pockets here and there.
Yeah.
So, that just makes it easy for.
It just tells you by looking at this, that Ward 1 is very sparsely populated.
So Ward 2 One, and see where that big spot is, that's industrial and all that out of Ward Two, like Rochelle Ranch, they'd actually put that in Ward Two and not Ward One now.
Yeah, or two.
Mayor,
Okay.
Mayor's got it.
I stopped by the county clerk's office today on a different matter, and, while we were there, she was just showing me this map. And she did say that she wasn't necessarily proposing that we do need to change the ward boundaries, but that's a decision for you folks as the elected officials. So if you feel like, she said that, you know, from her point of view, it could be either
Well, no, wait a
the
minute.
current or the change, that's a decision you make as the elected body. I'm confused.
Well, I just thought that it was mandatory that each ward or subdivision was equal in population. And if that's the case, we can't really choose. It's gotta be one way or the other. Which way is the population equal?
It goes to that one man, one vote concept, it's,
Right, but what I'm saying is I don't think it is our choice as to whether we stay or go. Stay with the old or go with the new.
I
just
don't know what the laws are anymore, but I do know that, we do choose whether we stay or whether, it's up to us to choose or not choose where ward boundaries are.
So we could change the boundaries,
Yeah,
but it would still come back down to population base.
yeah.
So
Or
if
could
we,
we bear it on it and read all the Supreme Court, yeah?
I mean, I don't see any reason to challenge the new, other than if the population's not correct to start with.
Where do they get the numbers for the ward?
What they've done, they can click on each little section and they'll give them a population number on their program. That's where they get the numbers from. Where those numbers come from probably have to be off voters or, other hauling data from UW. I'm not sure on that MOD. But I know that whatever they did is standardized, is blessed through the Secretary of State's office, and not every court in the Wyoming needs to send it over.
Figure that out. Property tax, who pays in that area?
Well, that one gives you the numbers of how many people are living in a ward, so I don't know where that.
They got it from the
That can't
census.
be accurate.
The census would identify the name and
Oh, that
where
was-
they live, and so if they got those numbers from the census, that's how they decided that you live where you live and so forth.
Yeah, it has to come from the census.
Yeah,
I would think
it
so.
already says that does, still. That's why you're changing it.
Is there anything else?
Maybe bring this to a future council meeting to have the council vote on, do we want to stick with the old one or the new one, so I can get that on there at some point here.
Well,
On the deadline too first.
yeah, and that, what it's gonna take to challenge or, and then we can maybe decide what the odds of that being a plus or not. Which I have a feeling it won't be, but like fighting fits, good luck.
You never know, we don't know for sure.
Yeah. Well, we'll know as soon as we see what the requirements is to look into it, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Pine to spruce.
yeah. That's why I say we're,
I put a sign on spruce, they moved it back to pine.
well, and you can tell that according to this, that we're way more sparsely populated than the other two counties.
Now we're covering more property.
Yeah, more coyotes.
Oh, yeah.
We're good for 5 minutes?
We got 5 minutes.
All right. 500 voters out of the system.
Yeah.
I have the record in my house where I will win an election by 500 and 600 votes. Now I win an election by 20 or 30 or 3.
Well,
I don't know what caused that.
You know, every election I've been in, the furthest I won by was 28 votes, and I lost by 8 votes. So between 8 and 28.
You're the fourth time you ran for county commissioner.
2004 or 5. 2004.
And I know, I ran into Bob Robert one time, and he got like 300 and some votes, and I got 500 votes. He carried. No, Cedar. He carried that. I carried all of it. See what I'm saying, I'd win by 500 or 600 votes, and all of a sudden this started to disappear. Now you run your top 30 votes.
I lost by 24 votes, and Sarah Douglas was alone, I lost by 406 votes, so I won every
Right now, it's free, that's not. We changed that. Change that. Let you get off the ballot, so you'd have to get 10 votes, 20 votes.
Sometimes they don't even have three, and then I won, so it's going down. Riverside, when that
I lost the commissioner's race, and then I had a write-in against you, and then they drew twice, and I lost there too, because there were 3 people, so I lost 2 elections. No, that's not,
Should be a percentage.
I would think so. Anybody?
With 3 signatures, give them their 25.
Yeah, I never did agree with that. Well, and the other thing was also right there, in this state, the further that's where we have to go to demonstrate. Right now, it's always open. So it's over in the private, there's enough people that it's like. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I did get some calls, by the way.
I know.
I haven't mentioned it, I haven't mentioned it in names.
The questions we asked, yeah.
Some of them. Do you know what we like?
Everybody gets the same answer.
Who said that?
So I thought, then we needed to, very simple.
Why are we
You don't even know. I don't know, I'm just telling you that, I've done a little bit of digging in there.
Really bad.
It can't make it through commission.
10:47.
Right. No, I told her.
Okay, you in on this? She's got 11:15, I got 10:47.
How are you?
I looked at this earlier and I was like, this is what kills me. Oh, yeah. What's your desk? Come on, get in on this, Brendan.
All right, the time has arrived, it is 7:30, and I will call this meeting to order. And would you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next thing on our agenda is roll call.
Mayor Terry Wyckoff,
Here.
Vice Mayor Jacqueline Wells. Here. Councilmember Aaron Durst.
Here.
Councilmember Daryl Gardner.
Here.
Councilmember Davari Martinez.
Here.
Councilmember Linda Smith.
Here.
Councilmember Chris Weisenberg.
Here.
Thank you. Next thing on our agenda is to approve the agenda. Councilman Smith?
I move the agenda as presented.
There's been a motion made and seconded to approve the, agenda for January 4th as presented. Is there any further discussion? Please open online voting.
Online voting is open.
Yes. I gotta log in again. I don't know.
Online voting has closed. The motion passes with 7 yeas.
Okay, thank you. The next thing on our agenda is to approve, the minutes of December 21st. Vice Mayor Wells?
I move to approve the city council regular meeting minutes of December 21, 2021, as presented.
Second.
There's been a motion made and seconded to approve the city council regular meeting minutes of December 21st, 2021, as presented. Is there any further discussion? Please open online voting.
Online voting is open. Online voting has closed. The motion passes with 7 yeas.
Okay, thank you. The next thing on our agenda is item A under public hearing. At this time, I will open a public hearing, renewing the City of Rollins, lodge number 609, let's see what it is here. Rollins, lodge number 609, Benevolent and Protective Order of Elks, BPOE, number 609, that filed an application for renewal of bingo, pull tabs, gaming license application for 2022. Is there anybody that would like to speak to that? Seeing none, I will close that public hearing. I will open up another public hearing, and this one is a resolution authorizing, submission of a WCDA CDBG grant, application number 1 for identifying and repairing leaks in the existing 20-inch main pipeline that supplies raw water from the Sage Creek Basin Springs and wells to the city of Rollins. Is there anybody here that would like to speak to that during the public hearing? Seeing none, I will close that public hearing. I will open the next public hearing, which is a resolution authorizing submission of a WCDA CDBG grant, application number 2 for repairing and improving critical roadway in the Sage Creek Basin to ensure access to the city of Rollins Spring and well sites. Is there anybody here that would like to speak to that? Seeing none, I will close that public hearing and open another public hearing, which is a resolution authorizing submission of a WCDA CDBG grant, application number 3 for repairing the city of Rollins system of 90-plus-year-old wood stave pipelines critical for collecting our spring and well water throughout the Sage Creek Basin. Is there anybody here that would like to speak to that? Seeing none, I will close that public hearing and open up the next public hearing, which is a resolution authorizing submission of a WCDA CDBG grant, application number 4 for repairing the cathodic protection system of the city of Rollins 20-inch main raw water line from the Sage Creek Basin. Is there anybody here that would like to speak to that? Seeing none, I will close that public hearing, and I will open up the next public hearing, which is a resolution authorizing submission of a WCDA CDBG grant, application number 5 for repairing the 2+ miles of sole transmission water line from the water tank farm to the city of Rollins with polyvinyl chloride PVC pipe. Is there anybody here that would like to speak to that? Seeing none, I will close that public hearing and open up another public hearing, which is a resolution authorizing submission of a WCDA CDBG grant, application number 6 for updating this supervisory controlled and data acquisition system, the SCADA, at the city's water treatment plant. Is there anybody here that would like to speak to that? Seeing none, I will close that public hearing and open up this next public hearing, which is a resolution authorizing submission of a WCDA CDBG grant, application number 8 for analyzing and mitigating a proposed special flood hazard area. Is there anybody here that would like to speak to that? Seeing none, I will close that public hearing, and we will open up the next public hearing, which is a resolution authorizing submission of a WCDA CDBG grant, application number 9 for repairing the curb, gutter, and sidewalk on the bulb outs on Cedar Street and create additional bulb outs on 4th and 5th Street. Is there anybody here that would like to speak to that? Seeing none, I will close that public hearing and open up the next public hearing, which is a resolution authorizing submission of a WCDA CDBG grant, application number 10 for adding additional lighting and replacing non-functional lighting in the downtown Rollins. Is there anybody here that would like to speak to that? Seeing none, I will close that public hearing and open up a public hearing, which is a resolution authorizing submission of a WCDA CDBG grant, application number 11 for improving Rob Roy Park to meet Americans with Disability Act, ADA guidelines and compliance. Is there anybody here that would like to speak to that? Seeing none, I will close that public hearing and open up another public hearing, which is a resolution authorizing submission of a WCDA CDBG grant, application number 12 for improving Washington Park restroom access to meet Americans with Disability Act, ADA guidelines and compliance. Is there anybody here that would like to speak to that? Hearing none, I will close that public hearing, and, we're getting there. And open up, let's see where we at, tonight? Yes. I will open up a public hearing, which is a resolution authorizing submission of a WCDA CDBG grant, application number 13 for improving Bolton Park restroom access to meet Americans with Disability Act, ADA guidelines and compliance. Is there anybody here that would like to speak to that? Seeing none, I will close that public hearing and open up another public hearing, which is a resolution authorizing submission of a WCDA CDBG grant application number 14 for providing critical personal protection equipment, PPE, and medical equipment for the Rollins Fire Department. Is there anybody here that would like to speak to that? Seeing none, I will close that public hearing and, open another public hearing, which is a resolution authorizing submission of a WCDA CDBG grant application number 15 for adding additional storage for recycling materials near the current recycling center. Is there anybody here that would like to speak to that? Seeing none, I will close that public hearing and open up another public hearing, which is a resolution authorizing submission of a WCDA CDBG grant application number 16 for updating interior and exterior facility lighting to light emitting diode lights and adding motion detector switches. Is there anybody here that would like to speak to that? Seeing none, I will close that public hearing and open the last public hearing for the evening is a resolution authorizing submission of a WCDA CDBG grant application number 17 for updating the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems at the City of Rollins City Hall and Public Works Community Development Building. Is there anybody here that would like to speak to that? Seeing none, I will close that public hearing. The next thing on our agenda is citizens' participation. This is a time set aside for the public to comment. You have 5 minutes to speak to us, tell us what's on your mind. I do want to forewarn anybody that gets up. Sometimes we will not engage you. We're not up here sleeping. We do listen to you. However, there are times when people think about things very deeply, and then they come and want us to respond immediately. We like to do our own research, and more times than not, we will get back with you. So if you get up to speak and we don't say anything, don't think that we're ignoring you, please. So if there's somebody here that would like to speak about anything that is not on the agenda, now is the time.
I want to speak on the previous decision by this council before.
Can you please identify yourself? I'm sorry, I should have said that.
Sure, I'm Tanya Loomis.
I know, but not everybody does. Thank you.
You're welcome. I want to speak on the previous decision by the council to force the city manager to work 80 hours a week without any hope of relief, as 4 of the council members voted an assistant down. An assistant that would help with strategic planning, operation assessment, project liaison, process and operating facilitation. An assistant that would not impact the budget. There are 160 hours in a week, math lesson for the day. Take 8 hours a day for sleep, you are left with 112 hours a week awake. Working 80 hours a week gives you 32 hours a week. 4.5 hours a day, including weekends, to upkeep your home, develop a relationship with your wife and kids, to eat, to exercise, and to relax. For the 4 members who voted against, you are asking this man to sacrifice his marriage. Tell me, what state in the United States is third in divorces? Wyoming. You are asking him to sacrifice his and his family's mental health. What state in the United States is first in suicide? Wyoming. You are asking him to work on an empty tank. Who's first in the United States in work-related death? Wyoming. Now, I understand that you believe in gritting through and cowboying up. Statistically, that puts you in the grave early. How many people retire only to die a few months later with no real connection to friends or family because they work their life away? You want to attach people to Rollins, you want to attract people to Rollins, start with changing the attitude that this is the place to work yourself to death. The Modern West is a podcast. It will be releasing a series, starting tomorrow, on the number of Wyoming kids incarcerated and dying from suicide. That is more in Wyoming than anywhere else. And if this is related to that cowboy up attitude, I suggest you listen before more people leave town or kill themselves to escape. For the 4 members who voted against, spend 16 hours with the city manager and see what it's like. For the 3 compassionate members who voted for, bring it up again. Every meeting is needed. Remember, this is election year. On a side note, I do expect council to be studious in regards to the budget. But people should always be above things, especially things like a water system to charge the residents more money. If you look further on in the schedule, you see quotes that people have said about Rollins. One of those quotes talks about Saratoga and how Saratoga is attracting more people to them than are coming to Rollins. And one of the reasons is they care about their citizens' mental health. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak? Just tell us who you are and...
Hello, I'm Andrew Coppola. I'm Walter Ford. We're here, representing the Rollins Raptors Hockey Club and, just the public of Rollins, and would like some assistance in getting the rink flooded, more timely. We've worked with the Parks and Rec, director since, November 2nd. We did all the work ourselves to level, grade, and clear out all the weeds at the, ice rink. And, still been put off on meetings and, just some delays to get water out there. We have, the artificial ice that's just downtown, and anyone who's ice skating knows it's not the same. And we have this rink that, the city has given the Rollins Raptors $81,000 in 2004 to build the rink at its current location from where it used to be at the old pen. And unless we push the city to help us, it doesn't happen. And there was an agreement with the city that they would help us maintain and flood the rink. There's a fire hydrant, maybe a few hundred yards right at, on Harshman, right by the rink. Unless I make the calls to the city, it doesn't happen. And although we can have winter, snow through June, July, the actual time that we have ice is running short. And we have this facility, the Rollins Raptors have spent a lot of money on this in the past, so has the city of Rollins. I'd like it to be used.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Honorable Mayor, members of council, Patrick Gonzalez, you know me. You may not want to know me, but you do know me. First thing I'd like to say, I would like to give, a huge props to, Sean Metcalf and his staff. I think over the last year, we have seen, many positive things happen, and that's a testament to not only his leadership, but him, finding, and getting the right people in the right positions in order to get those things done. I'd like to commend the city council, one, for hiring Sean. I know some of you were not on this council, but I think you need to give yourselves a pat on the back for some of the decisions that have been made in the past year that are extremely positive. Now, on the flip side of that, I have 2 issues that I want to address. I'll be extremely brief. The first one is you all have email accounts, if I'm not mistaken. When a constituent emails one of you, I would hope that in the future that you would respond in kind, that you've received that email, and will address any of the issues and concerns that have been brought forth. I will tell you as I go forward in 2022, I will now email all members of city council, because some of the issues and concerns that I have don't just relate to Ward 3. So that is concerning. The second issue I have is to piggyback on what Ms. Lumen said. One of the things that I learned in my time in leadership, and I've been in many leadership positions, some of you know, I was the CEO of the counseling center, I was also the CFO of the company we merged with. One of the biggest things that you learn in time is that your greatest asset are your people. And if you don't care about those individuals, and you don't focus on helping those people with whatever issues and concerns that they have, you're going to lose good people. And we have seen what has happened over the years when that takes place. Rollins starts over from square one, and it's an empty cycle. And I think you as city council are trying very hard not to let that happen. But anyone who will sit and say that working 70 hours a week is, well, that's just tough luck, isn't getting the big picture. I will tell you, the statistics have shown that when you work over 40 hours, your mental health will decline by 42%. When you get up to 60 hours a week, it declines by 65%. Productivity goes down, morale, motivation, illness starts to set in, and a host of other things. I would ask you to reconsider your thought process on this, because you have over there a very good individual. I have been fortunate enough to know several city managers in my time that I've moved back. And I can honestly tell you, that man gets it. And if you're not careful, you're gonna force him to call your bluff, and he will be. You know, and that is something that you as a city council, your job is to support this man, is to provide him the support that he needs. If it's individuals, if it's time, resources, whatever it takes, you're supposed to help him, not create a bigger problem. So I hope, as we move forward in 2020, that you reconsider that and rethink that. Because I'm telling you, he is the reason why we see the positives happening in our community. Because he has hired the right people. He has put things together. And I think you might want to reconsider that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to address us about things that are not on the agenda? Okay.
Honorable Mayor, worthy council, thanks for having me. Mike Lujan. I'm here tonight just to talk about a few programs that we were able to participate in, and you're familiar with some of the stuff that we do over at the restaurant. But I wanted to bring to the council's attention how those came about. So we started in November with our Veterans Dinner. It was the first time that we held that at the restaurant. My father and I for many, many years went to the veterans meal together. And, of course, this year we weren't able to do that, but at the last one we attended, we made a plan to have that meal at our restaurant to maybe get more members and more veterans involved. And we were able to have over 100 veterans of Rollins and Carbon County. And what an awesome time. It really was. And we're also fortunate to have this town's mayor in our presence. And I asked him to give a little welcome speech and a thank you. And Mayor, thank you for that. And you and your wife for being part of our celebration. The next up was our Thanksgiving. We all know what that was about. And with the community support, with our support from your hospital, from the surgeons and the doctors and everybody that participated and gave up that day, we cooked 80 turkeys and fed almost 1,000 people. And we delivered, we took over for Meals on Wheels, and we got food to those senior citizens. We took food up to, the Rollins Rehab and made sure that those people had a hot meal. And truly, I apologize, truly, it was such an impact to be able to do that, and we went till 11:30 that night feeding and distributing hospital and sheriff's office just to make sure that everybody had something. And, you know, it's not something my father told me. He said, give a man a meal. You're not gonna change the realities of what's happening, what's going on with their life. You're not gonna change anything. But what you're letting them know is we see you, and you're not invisible. And we were able to be a big part of that. Then came our Christmas celebration, and this is our 21st year, and if you remember 13 years ago, I accidentally burned down that restaurant, and we were still able to have Christmas for several hundred kids, and this year was no different except for the fire. We were able to get toys to over 400 kids this year, in Hannah and Saratoga and Wamsutter and here in town in Sinclair. So the reason why I want to be here is not for you to recognize what we're doing, but for me and my family to take a minute to thank the people that have had an impact, because this is not something that's done just by me. That impact is made up of people in this community. The hospital and some of the banks that bring toys, and the teachers that gave their evenings wrapping presents, and nobody that I can say, my family is so patriotic and so proud, and on top of the restaurant, we fly a United States flag and a Wyoming flag, and we keep it lit all night. And when you walk in the restaurant, we have a table set up for our fallen officers and soldiers in recognition for them, and also for our firemen. There's a red line flag and a blue line flag. And at the door, there's a sign that says, we kneel for the cross, we say Merry Christmas, and if you don't believe in that, you don't like that, and it offends you, you can go away. And that's something that we're very proud of. And so the impact that this family has received and the support we have received was very evident on Christmas Eve. So when I started this 21 years ago, I wanted, and as many of you know, that when law enforcement shows up at a child's house, that it's not always a bad day. And we had those presents delivered by our law enforcement, highway patrol, our sheriff's deputies, our city police, our fire department, city and county. And I wanted to recognize some people just to say thank you for coming. And Lou Lascano has helped us for so many years, community development, and he was there to help deliver presents to these kids. I was fortunate enough to be able to purchase 25 bicycles, and I took them to the restaurant, and I said, what am I gonna do now? I can barely fix anything, so I have to always call a guy. But we had firemen there every night putting together those 25 bicycles. And on Christmas Eve, they and their families, and your chief of fire, Lane, was there, and I wanted to tell you thank you, my friend, for being part of that. In addition to that, the city brought their police officers down, and also Chief Mike Ward, thank you for being there and helping deliver, and they were all there, and they did that for us. And I said, when everybody's done, come back. We're gonna do something special this year. And there was a family involved in a rollover, not from here. And I heard about it, and I said, well, we're gonna make a difference. And so got everybody together, and what's going on? So we're going up to the Best Western. And about 30 of our team, of our friends, took presents, and they went up there, and they told this family that we care about you, and we see you, and we want to do something for you and your family. And that was powerful, to know that all of you could be part of that, and that we made a difference. And I just wanted to tell everybody thank you for that, and I just wanted this council to recognize and know that the people that work for you, this city, they support us, they believe in us, and they believe in this community. So God bless you, and God bless the city of Rollins. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Tough act to follow. Is there anybody else that would like to say anything? All right, thank you. on our agenda is, board appointments. And, first, board appointment is for, the Board of Adjustments. I would entertain a motion, Council, or Vice Mayor Wells.
I move to approve Stanley Bugg to the Board of Adjustments for a term ending January 31st, 2025.
Second.
There's been a motion made and seconded to approve Stanley Bugg to the, Board of Adjustments for a term ending January 31st, 2025. Is there any discussion? One question, Stan, how long have you been on this board?
Oh, my goodness. I was trying to think through that all again. This is gonna be my fourth or fifth appointment on board,
Okay, well, thank you for your service.
so I enjoy doing it.
Is there any further discussion? Please open online voting.
Online voting is open. Online voting has closed, the motion passes with 7 yeas.
Thank you. And thank you, Stan.
Thank you.
All right, next thing on our agenda is the Fire Civil Service, Commission Board, Councilman Smith.
I move to appoint Mark Pappenheim to the Fire Civil Service Commission for a term ending November 30th, 2024.
Second.
There's been a motion made and seconded to appoint Mark Pappenheim to the Fire Civil Service Commission for a term ending November 30th, 2024. Is there any discussion?
What year, Tom?
Yeah, Mark, how long have you been on that board?
It's been a while.
Did you have a beard then?
It had a different color.
All right, any other discussion? Please open online voting.
Online voting is open. Online voting has closed, the motion passes with 7 yeas.
Thank you, and thank you, Mark. All right, the next thing on our agenda is the Police Civil Service Commission Board, Councilman Smith.
I move to appoint Darcy Fagnan to the Police Civil Service Commission for a term ending January 31st, 2025.
Do I hear a second? Second. There's been a motion made and seconded to appoint, Darcy, Fagnan to the Police Civil Service Commission for a term ending January 31st, 2025. Is there any discussion? Councilman Smith?
Yes, I wanted to, we have two good applicants, and, Darcy has been serving, I believe, for the last 4 years, and I know of no reason not to reappoint her. Usually when we don't reappoint, it's because there's some reasons why, or maybe they've lost interest or something like that. But I just want Mike Luan to know that, he is equally, thought of, very well, and I just wanted him to understand why I nominated Darcy.
Any further discussion? Please open online voting.
Online voting is open. Online voting has closed, the motion passes with 6 yeas and 1 nay. The 1 nay was Councilmember Martinez.
Okay, thank you. Planning and the next thing on our agenda is Planning and Zoning, Commission appointment. Vice Mayor Wells.
I move to appoint Jeff Atkins to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a term ending January 31st, 2025.
been a motion made and seconded to appoint Jeff Askins to the Planning and Zoning, Commission for a term ending, January 31st, 2025. Is there, any discussion? Yes,
I'm here.
would you like to come up and tell us why you applied to this board? And if you don't want to, do it anyway, no.
Honorable Mayor, City Council. I applied to this, commission here because I would like to be a part of Rollins. I moved away here in 1987. I graduated Rollins High School, met my wife here, got married, our kids were born at the hospital. I love Rollins, so I came home, and I just want to be a part of it again and do whatever I can to make Rollins keep progressing forward.
That's a good story, I like hearing that. Any questions of this gentleman? All right, thanks. Please open online voting.
Online voting is open. Online voting has closed, the motion passes with 7 yeas.
Thank you very much, and thank you for applying. The next thing on our agenda is, the Rollins Carbon County Airport Board appointment. Councilman Smith?
I move to appoint James R. Eggleston to the Rollins Carbon County Airport Board for a term ending January 31st, 2027.
Been a motion made and seconded to appoint James R. Eggleston to the Rollins Carbon County Airport Board for a term ending January 31st, 2027. Is there any discussion? Is James here?
I am.
Are you? Would you like to say something?
Mr. Mayor, may I, while he's coming up, may I just speak real quick?
Excuse me?
Well, I just wondered if, while he was walking up, can I just speak real quick and just say that GR has been an incredible asset to the board and has been just, I mean, amazingly helpful. And I guess if you don't vote him in, I will be very angry. I don't know if I can say that, but he's been phenomenal, and that's just the way it is.
Thank you. Yeah, now to you.
Thank you for the opportunity, Mayor and Council. I was appointed to fill a vacant position on the board in 2019 from the county, and have served since then. Serving currently as treasurer for the board. I'm a member of the Rollins Flying Club, and my interest is keeping and improving this airport.
Well, thank you, and thank you for applying. Any further discussion? Councilman Weisenberg?
Is this position, since it's a joint powered board, is this a position where it's a county and then a city, county and a city that would operate on this position?
I think some of the seats are appointed by the county and some are appointed by the city.
So you currently,
Myra,
you currently,
Honorable Mayor and Councilman, yes, some boards, there's ones that stay, so like, 3 people are always by city and 2 people are by county. On the airport board, it does rotate every person. So the term, like, we had an empty seat and that did go to the county, which they were able to fill today. And Mr. Eggleston was originally appointed by the county and then we have our term. So it does rotate back and forth.
so he's asking for a reappointment, which will be a city seat this time.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
any further discussion? Please open online voting.
Online voting is open. Online voting has closed, the motion passes with 7 yeas.
Thank you. The next thing on our agenda is to, a DDA Main Street Board appointment, Vice Mayor Wells.
I move to appoint Steve Sanger to the Rollins CDA Main Street Board as an out-of-district position for a term ending December 31st, 2025.
Been a motion made and seconded to appoint Steve Sanger to the Rollins DDA Main Street Board as an out-of-district position for a term ending December 31st, 2025. Is there any, discussion? Steve? Yes, Councilman Martinez?
Thank you. I was told, and I'm not in the big circle with a lot of people, but I was told, and I think Mr. Sanger's a great applicant, but, that he was employed. Is that employed by DDA, or is he just volunteer, or
No,
he is employed?
no,
Is it?
No.
He isn't?
no.
I don't know this.
DeGore, what, he works, he's basically a contractor, he paints, and does work, and he's working with, another individual to rehab some of the, downtown
Okay.
upstairs, but he is not working for DDA. He is our chairman, and he served on the board before because he used to have Huckleberries, and he was an in-district. Now that I don't know how many positions we have for out-of-district, but he would fill the one that we have vacancy for the outside boundary, so that's what we're asking.
Okay, that's what I want to know. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Please open online voting.
Online voting is open. Online voting has closed, the motion passes with 7 yeas.
Thank you. The next thing on our agenda is, community feedback, the survey report. I will turn the floor over to, City Manager Sean Metcalf.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and Council. I know we had the opportunity to look at the survey together, which was really fun to do. And our department had spent some time looking at this too. But I thought it would be a good opportunity to share this during a council meeting so the community can hear about it as well. So I wanted to just kind of hit the highlights of the survey and, share that with the community. So, starting with, and I have the survey from last year and this year right in front of me, so I'm gonna kind of skip through there. So, one of the first questions on here, you can see that there is representation from every ward. There's kind of a picture, and you can see all the residents and where they're located, and I think it's important to know that there was representation of the survey from all the wards. Ward 2 and 3 had about a similar amount of people that took the survey. Ward 1 was, fewer by about half, and hopefully we will be able to, increase those numbers, as we go along. One of the questions is, what is your age? And the takeaway here is that we have representation from every age group in the survey, which I think is important to know. Interestingly, or for me, it kind of, the question is, what is your gender? And we have 58% female and 34% male, which was similar to last year. And then we have mostly, it says, are you white, black, Hispanic, Asian, other, prefer not to answer, mostly white. This year we had probably double in the Hispanic, which is, I think, great to see that, and other category went down just slightly. And then there's smaller representation in the other areas. The highest, what is your highest level of education? The takeaway here is that we had a representation from all levels, from high school to doctorate. Household income, again, same sort of answer, that we had a representation from as little as 10,000 all the way up to 200,000 or more. Are you a resident of Rollins? So last year we had 9% that said no, they weren't, but they still were interested in answering the survey. So, and then this year there was 3% that said they weren't, and the rest were residents of Rollins. Thinking back over the past 12 months, would you say the city of Rollins is headed in the right or wrong direction? Last year, the wrong direction was 15%. This year it was 15%, so same. The unsure was 57% last year, it's just amazing to be, that is so gratifying to see that we're making progress in the right direction. And that is, really, everyone in this entire room is to thank for that. Everyone's doing an amazing job. Would you recommend our city to your friends and families a place to work and live? And really, this went up just a little bit, and people that said definitely yes, from 18% to 23%. And then the rest of them were about equal to what they were before. 31% was probably yes, 23% may or may not, 18% probably not, and 4% definitely not. Over the past 12 months, have you had contact with City Hall administration? Last year was 60% yes, this year 56% yes, last year 38% no, and 43% no. Similar. How would you rate your experience with Rollins City Hall administration? And we did see some increase in the excellent category, a few percentages. It's very similar to last year, very similar. Thinking back over the past 12 months, have you had contact with the Rollins Parks and Recreation Department? Last year was 63% was yes, and then this year is 74% yes. And then no was the 36% last year and 25% this year. How would you rate your experience with the Rollins Parks and Recreation Department? The biggest takeaway here was the excellent category went from 20% to about 30%. And then the other categories are very similar. So it's just awesome, right? I love seeing stuff like that. Thinking back over the past 12 months, have you had contact with the Rollins Police Department? This may or may not be a good thing, right? We're listed in this category. Yes, actually it was just about the same between the 2 years. How would you rate your experience with the Rollins Police Department? So in the excellent category, it went up a couple of percentages. In the good category, it went up 7%. And then the average went up 4%. Poor and terrible were just the same as last year. So seeing that, it's in our day and age, especially in the police world, it's kind of hard to change that perspective. So again, it's awesome to see that. Thinking back over the past 12 months, have you had contact with the Rollins Fire Department? Again, may or may not be a good thing right here. You have a fire at your house. But 29% last year, 31% this year, and yes, so about the same. How would you rate your experience with the Rollins Fire Department? Last year was 14% was in the excellent category, and that went to 25% this year in the excellent category. And then the rest of the categories were about the same. And again, just awesome. Over the past 12 months, have you had contact with Public Works? And last year there was about 10% more than there were in the yes category. So that's the difference there. How would you rate your experience with the Rollins Public Works Department? This is one that actually went down a little bit, and I think we all know why. It's because our water infrastructure. We've had some challenges this year. And it definitely doesn't have anything to do with our brand new employees who are leading the charge. They are doing amazing things right now and working their tail ends off, trying to fix our water. So I would expect that this is, as soon as we get that water fixed, it's gonna shift back. So, thinking back over the past 12 months, we had contact with the Community Development Department. And that one we didn't have last year because we split the department. So 66% had that communication and 33% did not. How would you rate your experience with Community Development Department? So we had 24% in excellent, 32% good, 10% in average, 6% in poor. So key message is great. You're doing great. Thinking over the last 12 months with the Downtown Development Authority, we had last year was 56% and then 52% this year with that contact, so that went down a little bit. how would you rate your experience with Rollins Downtown Development Authority? And mostly it was very, very similar to last year with a few percentages off, so very similar. So this was a new question. This year was, the city has a strategic plan, and this one talks specifically on the community's thoughts on how on our effort working on beautification. Keyword being our effort there. So 8% said that our effort was excellent, 32% said it was good, 32% said average, 17% poor, and 5% terrible. So, I would say, the verdict's out there still a little bit right now, right? We just started working really hard on beautification efforts, and I can only anticipate it going like this because we're focusing on it. Infrastructure, how did residents rate our effort on infrastructure, trying to improve it? So, 8% on excellent, 29% on good, 33% average, 6% poor, 7% terrible. So again, another one of those is kind of burnt out a little bit. They want to, as soon as they see the water line fixed and those sorts of things, they only see it going like this. What did they think about our community and economic development? There was 6% on excellent, 25% good, 33% average, 19% poor, 6% terrible. So again, another one we haven't focused too much on it yet because we're waiting to get our economic development director. And again, we're focusing on it, and it should be going like this in the right direction. Community trust and engagement. This one was of our different categories that we've been working on as a city. This one had the best rating. So 14% excellent, 41% good, 24% average, 9% poor, 2% terrible. So I think that was really good, really good. Then we had a question on what do you think makes Rollins unique as a community? This is our step in potentially creating a new brand, including tagline for a wonderful town. Definitely the theme here was what makes us unique as our people. That was, for me, when I read it, that was the theme. And there's a lot of other interesting comments in there too. Any comments from the council on there?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a lot of reading to do on this one. Actually was thinking maybe I could put our economic development director on the spot too, that maybe he could take the results and try and compile them into groups of responses, and then it might be a little bit easier to say 10 people of this idea and that sort of thing. Okay. What type of businesses do you think would succeed in Rollins? I think we all could probably guess what those are, right? Like clothing, activities for kids, certain restaurants. People are real specific about, wanting Dunkin' Donuts or Chick-fil-A. I'm just looking at Police JC stuff that he wants. But there's tons of responses, and maybe I could also, our economic development director can maybe compile some of that data for us to consume a little better. Have you or your family member ridden the community CATS bus at any point since 2020? Very few have, but the ones that do really need it. And that was definitely the responses that I saw reading those, was what I just said, people that use it, they very, very much need that. And do you have any suggestions on how we can improve the community bus? One of the themes was advertising it more. Most of the people that responded didn't know, like some of them are like, wait, we have a CATS bus. Potentially a rename was one thing that came out, some visual stops where people can see the CATS bus stops here, here.
Yeah.
So those great suggestions. That was a good question to ask, because now we know we have some direction that came directly from the community. Do you prefer to stay informed with what is happening in the city of Rollins, or how do you prefer? So 20% stay informed by council meetings, 40% that responded was the city website, 21% emails or texts. Facebook, social media is 66%. Watch council meetings through channel 191 was 11%, which is kind of interesting to me. And other was 20%. Just good data to know where people get their information. And then what other comments or insights would you like to share with the city as a whole? And I can't summarize all this for you guys. You're gonna have to read that. I don't even know how to summarize that one. So good luck with that, council. And then we did do a raffle for $100 for a few people that participated. What was interesting is that we had way more, almost everyone that took this completed the survey this year, and I wondered if it was because of that raffle. So I think we should probably do that again next year, and we went from about 200 people to about 250, so that was good to see some improvement there. Is there any comments from council or residents even?
I like it when everything seems to be improving or going the right, not everything, but almost everything's going the right direction, and, that makes me feel pretty good. I just wish more people would fill them out. You know, I understand we got a cross section and there's very similar numbers with each ward, and that was the case last year too, which kind of amazed me, that it was so equal, but I wish people would fill them out and take it serious and take that opportunity to, tell us what they want. And, you know, Myra and I went to the senior center, and most of those people were pretty eager to fill it out, and it's just helpful to know. There's no way that any of us can tell what wherever they are thinking, and this is a perfect way to let us know. It's very helpful. Councilman Smith?
I just wanted to let everybody know, I did read all the way through all the comments. It's very heartwarming in lots of ways. There are also some very, slamming, comments, but they were needed. And I take it very seriously. I think there's a lot of wonderful ideas for economic development. There's a lot of rebranding ideas that I thought were just blew me away, and were playing on the wind there. So I just wanted to let everybody know I took it very seriously, and I hope we can implement a lot of the suggestions that were made.
I second that. Like, these comments really is what helped us create the strategic plan in the first place and what it is today. That's why I think it's so powerful, because it really is what residents have wanted from us. And I guess I would just say again too, like, this makes me so happy. And I look at the people that are working in the city of Rollins, they're doing an amazing job. And they should. I agree. They're making a difference here.
Anything more? All right. The next thing on our agenda is, the discussion on the quarterly strategic, planning updates, and, again, Sean, you'll be the presenter.
Yeah. So I wanted this to be kind of more like an interactive sort of, every quarter I'd like to just give you more of the summary of like, do I feel that we're on track? You know, are we behind on things? And if the council has suggestions of like, you know, if you feel that we're off track on something, let's talk about it, and like a quarterly sort of discussion. So I just wanted to start off with the initiative, and again, please, if you want to interrupt me anytime, please do it. I'd love to hear your feedback. So we'll first look at this page that I created, which was the initiative, and are we on track or not? And then we'll look at the measurements of success, a different spin on that, and how are we actually doing according to what we felt were our measurements of success. So just kind of breezing through here, and in the employee section, and what you'll see under the projects are the projects mostly that staff identified that we wanted to work on this year. So employee training program, we do have that. We do regular training, so that's definitely on track. The safety committee's been created, and we're on track with that. Funding for training, the council supported all of the funding requests that we had for training, and I feel like everyone has generally speaking, really, their needs are being met. Equipment maintenance and replacement plan, and I would say that's also on track. So, personnel, police, and fire policies are all on track. Pretty soon you'll see the fire commission one come in first, I believe, and then probably police, and then personnel. But it's all going really good, really good. We're doing the employee quarters here, Max Sutton and City Scoop, so that's on track. Engage employees on strategic plan, which we have done and will continue to do, especially right after we do the strategic planning session here soon. We will get input from all of our employees all the way up again. Monthly communication to employees, that actually turned into weekly communication to employees, so that I think has been really good, I believe. Council annual training, Kathy has offered to do that training, I believe, next month, for council. So she's doing that next month. And then, improve the competitiveness and employee compensation benefits. So the salary study is, again, close, we're just on track. We were able to maintain our benefits thanks to the council for doing that. That's a big deal for our employees. Cost of living was kind of put on hold because we were waiting on the audit. And employee benefit document, I think it was created, right? Good thing it was, yeah, since I put it on the spot and looked at it. So beautification, lobbying for authority, dangerous building abatement, the research of dangerous building. Council has given, I know I'm looking at, Councilman Martinez right now, has kind of really pushed, like, could we create a policy to be able to charge residents, and I know Kathy's looking at that. I know Kathy's also working with the county right now to, see what we can do, to be able to deal with these situations. So I would say we're on track. Free landfill days, we did those. Adopt a street and spot program, we had a few additional ones this year in addition to what we had. The holiday lights program, I think community members really love that. Summer yard, we did not do that because we held our water from people and that didn't seem like a good idea this year. Beautification partnerships, definitely. We did a lot of things in that regard. So on track. Leverage code enforcement beautification tool, supporting code enforcement. Yes, code enforcement campaign was put out and kind of tried to do our best in prioritizing what we're doing. So that's on track. And extra code enforcement officer, we have held off on that as well. Improve attractiveness of city entryways and properties. So the gateway and wayfinding has kind of been on hold a little bit. I think we need to, I know we have done some improvements on some signs at parks, which is good, but I think we could still work on this one. Appearance of city properties, there's been a lot of work on that, a lot of landscaping, and that will continue, there will continue to be a lot of landscaping and things that are worked on there. And then the parks and rec plan, I know that's on the radar right now as well. Ensuring consistent funding for infrastructure, council, to our, to the best of our ability, we're funding what we can. Implementing the 6 Penny project, yep, Walnut Street, that's going, we'll have the river water over to the cemetery, followed very closely, I think, by Edinburgh. So we're on track. Water meter replacements, we mentioned that actually earlier, that we held off on that for a little bit, but we can address that one again here soon. Implement source water protection plan. We are definitely making progress on this as we're trying to replace our old wood safe. That's a huge part of that. Working with FEMA to mitigate floodplain. We do have a meeting set up with the engineer that we had reached out to help us with this process with FEMA. And so I'd say that actually I put behind it is a little bit, but we still are on track because we're about to have a meeting and he's done all of his research. He's about to present what he's found as options for the city. Capital improvement plan, we're really ramping up right now as we're starting to get into budget season to work on this. So I would say, even though I put behind it, that part is on track. utilize software solutions for infrastructure and equipment tracking. We still need to do some work on that. Police and fire building, I think there's been some initial research done on that, but I couldn't speak to it too much. Little research. Very little, okay. And then community trust and engagement, increase the city's efforts in training and recognizing volunteers. That one, I think, is a huge thing that we need to take advantage of, and the committee was formed, and they have amazing ideas to recognize our volunteers, because we have a lot of them throughout the city. So I'm really excited about that, very excited. Then we've got informing the public, so using multiple marketing channels, newsletters, all of that, improve website content. I would say that one is maybe more on the lesser side with what we've been able to do on that, but the rest of them, we have done a really good job, which was reflected in the survey results. And report of concern is really close, that we can really implement that thing, so that will be coming to council soon. Gathering resident feedback through surveys, yep, we have done that, and we've done various surveys as well. And then community economic development, we're just kind of getting started, and most of the answers right here is that we've just got our economic development director. Some effort has gone into this, but we're really now just ramping up to do these things. Preparing properties to be shovel ready, some identification of some things where we could put potential businesses. We've kind of looked at that, and that will be forthcoming here. So we're just kind of really ramping up. Diversify indoor recreation and other activities, that definitely has happened a ton. I think you've all seen that there's been a lot more recreational programs that are going on at rec center right now. And so that's been great. And the advisory committee is about to come to council for approval, so that Jason can have that and get ongoing feedback from the community on a very regular basis. With the strengthened partnerships and economic development agencies, we'll be forming a group of economic development people to meet and discuss together things related to economic development and helping each other. That will be happening soon. We funded the economic development focused agencies, the council did. Partner to reduce the number of unused and vacant buildings. That one kind of goes back to working on it. So there's the initiatives, and sorry, this is kind of taking a little bit, but I think it's good. Do you want me to pause for a second, and any comments on that or feedback? Because I really, if there is any, I'd love to hear it.
I think we're just on track. You know what I mean? There's a lot more got done than I thought we'd get done in a year. Yes. So.
I think you're really busy.
We are. We're doing good things, so it's fun to make difference. I'm gonna shift over to the measurements of success. So some of this is really interesting to look at it at this different perspective. So increase in the number of applicants that we received. With the new software that we got, on average, we received about triple the applicants that we used to receive, which is a big deal. It's a really big deal. Because when we have that many more people to choose from, we will get better people. It's just how that works, so that's awesome. So that one I just put as complete, basically, because we'll continue to get that because we have that software program. Increase the number of voluntary certifications and trainings. We've had a lot of recognitions here as they come, and we recognize them at city council. So I don't have much to say about that, just that it's going really great. Positive feedback and employee check-ins. We have overall had a lot of really good feedback, and that I think that the morale of employees generally has been better, which is reflected in check-ins. Decrease in turnover. This is kind of interesting that for quite a long time, we've had about 15 positions that have been open, and now, as of when I wrote this down, we have 4 positions open, and that's back to what I would call like normal. We're always gonna have probably 4 positions open, but it's great. That's where we want to be. Happier employees through trust. I wrote here that overall, I think that people feel valued and respected and supported. And I think the communication has been increased a lot, and transparency, and I think that attributes to the trust that people feel. and sometimes I'll Stephanie will come and visit with me, and like, I don't have anything for you, and she doesn't have anything for me either. The issues are a lot more minor, and that's a big deal. Decrease in the number of dilapidated and dangerous buildings, we know we have a lot of work on that, and we talked about that one. Increase in code compliance, you know, we've done what we can, and we'll continue to, improve in this area. But of course, the conversation about maybe getting another code enforcement officer would be helpful. Improvement reflected in community survey, we talked about that for a long time today. Increase in volunteers for trash cleanup days, that did improve from last year, the numbers went up. Infrastructure, our source water resources are protected, again, you know, this is number one priority, and we all know we're doing the very best that we can right now, and we'll continue to do so. Increase in safety for citizens at parks, and a lot of the low cost things that were glaring, Jason has actually fixed. But it is gonna take money to fix a lot of issues at our parks, which is why we're going after those CDBG monies, and we'll keep working on that. Again, the community survey, that was interesting on infrastructure, that, you know, we got a room to improve, but they have recognized that we're trying really hard. Community trust and engagement, information available to public and variety of media formats, yep, absolutely, we're on track. Increase in involvement between the city and the community, and we've done a lot more than I think we have ever done in this area, which I think is why the survey results showed that people appreciate the communication. Increase in press releases, social media posts, website updates, utility billing messages have increased and on track. Improved reflection community survey, absolutely. Increase in shovel-ready properties, we mentioned that we're working on that. Increase in sales tax revenue, we have had some success with that, as we know, like Starbucks is trying to come in, we've had a few businesses that have come to Rollins this past year, so that's good. Increase in workforce is, I put it behind, it's not been like number one focus, but it's something that we'll work on. And diversity of goods, services industry, tourism, we're gonna really focus in on that. And then decrease in unused and vacant buildings, as we talked about that one. So that's what I have. Is there any comments or things that council thinks maybe we could be doing some different things? Do we need to make any tweaks to what we're doing that you feel strongly we should be doing right now, instead of, you know, waiting too long? I know the good thing is we're about to have our strategic planning retreat, so we'll have a long discussion. So, but if it's okay, I'd really like to do this quarterly, where if we all as a group feel like we need to make some improvements, that we adjust what we're doing and take a different course if we need to, and just keep that more of a live, ongoing conversation together.
Things change, and so I think quarterly's good.
That's all I have on that, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. The next thing on our agenda is, city manager report.
We went over the budget calendar. This Thursday, I have the council members and mayor scheduled to meet through our one-on-ones. I've got the mayor at 8 o'clock, council member Martinez at 9 o'clock. Aaron is at 10, Linda is at 11, Daryl's at 12:30, 2 o'clock is Jackie, and 4 o'clock is Chris. Is that okay for everyone?
What date is that, Thursday?
This Thursday.
We have a council meeting at 6, right? Okay.
Okay, so it sounds like that will work. And then I just also wondered if there's, I personally really enjoyed having the one-on-one time with everyone. I think it's really valuable, and to just spend some time together. Is there any specific thing that you would like to see that's a little different than what we're doing? Try to, like this month, I would love, or this Thursday, I would really like to focus in on just talking about strategic plan of what we're about to do in a couple weeks here. But just any feedback on anything that we might make it a better, even better experience, and just anything that I can do. That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Putting you in my. Things so I don't forget. Okay. Let's see, next thing on our agenda is city council reports and directions to the city manager, Councilman, Weissenberg.
Yeah, Sean, the citizen come up and talked about the ice skating rink. I just, maybe legal can answer a couple questions. What's the liability issues of filling that? If none. So my thing is if the city's already put a bunch of money into it and the club has already put a bunch of money into it, we should make it active for them as soon as possible. If we could have you get that going for them. Sounds like they've been waiting since November 2nd. I only got one side of that story, so, if we could get that, you know, so ice can freeze and they can have a good skating rink up there.
I think that there's, and Jason could chime in if you're here too. You wanna come up? I think that there's a lot of work that needs to be done to get that thing work, because I think the past couple of years they tried to fill it up and it basically didn't hold water. And so I think that realistically to be able to do that right now is not realistic, but you wanna speak to it a little bit, what you know?
Right, so, I was approached, I think, November 2nd. I had requested an email to outline the request. That actually came in December 17th, so that kind of put us behind. We did meet on the 2nd, but, some of our questions are with legal as far as liability for being open to the public. My understanding is that the club is not really, active right now. And my understanding also is that I don't think the city, I could be wrong, but I thought the $80,000 was from the rec board grant. So I'm not sure what the city has. So we started looking at, I think it was, Andrew, do you remember that 2003 was the agreement we were trying to find?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were trying to find the, information from that council meeting to see what the agreement was. In other words, what are the responsibilities of the city in the past and what were the responsibilities of the club? Who maintains the ice? The other question for legal is, you know, we don't have a Zamboni, so how are we gonna create a smooth ice surface? Who's gonna inspect if there's holes or cracks in the ice? That might be a safety concern. So, we do have a meeting scheduled, or I do, with Andrew this Friday, to discuss further kind of what we found with looking at past city council agendas and minutes, to try to figure out. It's just sort of, we felt it was a little bit late in the game. We would have to come up with an agreement with the, Raptors club, but I understand that the club is no longer existent. So there's just a lot to, I think, to work out, and we were thinking that it might be tough to get something in place this year, but absolutely, we'd love to work with them to see if we can do something next year. So, just a lot to bring together in a short period of time, is basically what it came down to.
My thoughts there is that I don't care who paid for it, it's really a pretty cool thing. And I would really like to see, I mean, we live in a place where it's really hard to enjoy the winter. So if there are little things like that we could do to maybe, enjoy it a little more, I would really like to see that skating rink
I think
be donated to the city to clear up some problem, whatever it takes. I would like to see that.
And I think we agree, we've talked about it, and I've met with, community members, a few council members. It's there, so it'd be great to be able to utilize it. So we need to come up with a good, solid plan, so that there's no liability with the city, being something that's open to the public and not just with the club. So it's there, we should be able to, it'd be nice to use it. And, I guess the other thing is I think we did try to put water in it a few years ago, and there needs to be some more grading or something else that needs to take place, so that the water will hold and freeze. But if you drive by it right now, you can see the, kind of the eastern corner of it, there's a huge wall of snow. So there is a lot of maintenance that's gonna have to take place winter. We just wanna make sure the council's aware of what the city's responsibilities would be, before we bring it to council to give us direction on that.
I guess my thing is, if you don't have a Raptors club, if it's not functioning right, why can't we just have a skating pond for anybody to use?
And I think that was the approach Andrew brought to our
That
first
was brought
meeting,
up.
was that it wouldn't necessarily be for the club, it would be open for the community.
That was brought up before, we got the money from the rec board, and they started it, it was doing pretty good, and I don't get involved with that, I don't know what happened. But it seems to me that when I go by there, I said, well, why don't they just, I guess I'm old fashioned, throw some water in, let the people go down there and ice skate, that type of thing. It just seems pretty simple to me, I mean, it's not it wouldn't be a fancy skating pond, but it'd have some water in there and people go over there and skate. Now's a real good time, it's awful cold out there. Ice ought to be good.
Councilman Weisenberg?
Yeah, I think, Andrew had talked about that they did grading and stuff, already, he had mentioned that, so what would need to be regraded? I mean, what'd be the harm in trying it if it's already been graded and shot, everything's done? And just make sure we stay below the boards and make it, and see if it holds.
Right, so that's why we were meeting, our last meeting, one meeting, Andrew wasn't available for, the next meeting I wasn't available for, and that was actually just last Friday. But one of my concerns is the staffing requirements and the equipment to maintain one, if we do get water down and it does work and it does freeze and there's a surface, what are the city's responsibilities to maintain that, to make it skatable and safe? And that could, I don't know what that's gonna require. It could, be a lot of time, and we do have limited staffing. So that was one of the pieces of this puzzle that we'd like to work on, to present, to come up with an agreement with the club and present something to council, to move forward. It was a limited time frame to get something done, sooner than later, but we can, like I said, I have a meeting with, Andrew on Friday, this Friday morning, that we scheduled, and so, I'd be willing to hear any direction from council on how we should try to proceed with that. We would have time, I would like to refer to legal as far as any liability being over to the public, and then I believe it would be in our best interest to come up with not an MOU, but some sort of an agreement between the city of Rollins and the club, if it does exist, so that we're outlined who's responsible for what. And I would like to condone them, they did go down and do some work out there, got rid of all the weeds were probably 3 feet tall, and they did a lot of great work down there. I don't know that they did any grading with equipment. They did, okay, they did, so, maybe that helps. And maybe when they put the water down the last time, maybe, I think somebody told me maybe that we didn't have the right freeze on the surface, and that's why the water didn't hold. I think that was a couple of years ago, but, it would be a great thing for the community, it's just the timing, and be happy to carry out any wish of the council.
I'd like to see you give it a go.
Okay.
I drive up there a lot and look at that thing sitting out there and just, some of my fondest memories as a kid was, broken tailbones and stuff. We used to skate every day. I mean, it was fun, It was, well, you fall. And you do, and that's part of ice skating, but that's how you learn to ice skate. And, there's a risk to everything, but, I just think it'd be a great thing to do. I mean, when we were kids, we'd go down the ice skating pond, there was always, we'd have a sack of firewood, and then there were barrels there, there'd be a fire going in the barrel, and then we'd skate, and, it was just really fond memories. I'd like to have our kids here have that opportunity, to be honest with you. Yes, Councilman Smith, sorry.
I'd like to put a liability hat on for just a minute. One of the ways that possibly could work out is if the Raptor Club were a viable club, they could get a rider on an insurance policy or something like that, and then that would help LGLP protect the city, but then accidents would be covered by a rider.
Councilman Garner?
Would it be much different than a park, as far as insurance liability goes?
There's the same responsibility for management.
Right.
But one of the things that I need to look at is Wyoming does have what's called a Recreational Safety Act. And I just need to look at that and see if it is applicable and to what extent and how to tap into. So that's, tonight's the first I've heard about this, so I'm frantically taking notes about what the concerns are. So,
I think it'd be great if we could get it up and running as soon as possible, if we can. Especially if they put the work into it, we can test it, make sure it holds, maybe fill it, and then, get that done. And while we're doing that, figure out the, insurance side of it. So, I don't know, I think it's an awesome idea.
I do too. Callie?
I was just wondering if someone knew when it was last used. I've been here 10 years and I can't, yeah, I can't think of a single time I've seen it.
I think Pam Thayer filled it about 4 years ago.
Okay.
And there was, the Mennonites were there, there was a ton of use. There's been a bunch of work done there in the interim. There was a bunch of bentonite in the rink, someone had taken it all out. I don't know what happened to it, it may just be sitting on the ground outside the rink, but that used to be the retention for the water. But, I mean, really, if we get a good base layer in the dirt, let that freeze, and then put another layer, it will hold water. Period, you know, you can't expect to put 1,000 gallons in there and have ice tomorrow. That's why we were concerned about timing, because it's gotta be tiered to be scaled. We will, you know, go remove snow, because snow does ruin the ice. And cracks, all you gotta do is take some hot water and fill it. So, we understand that, you know, our club isn't necessarily active, but we can't be active without ice. So it's kind of a.
Roller skating in dirt don't work. Okay, so,
I will look into it and give council an update at the January 18th meeting, if that works.
that'd be awesome if we could get that going. Okay. Is there anything else under this, Councilman Martinez?
Not under this.
Well, council reports.
Okay. I, just wanted to report that I received 3 calls in regard to a meeting that took place in regard to the deer, the shooting of the deer, getting rid of them. The lady that called told me the story, and I don't know if it's correct or not, because I wasn't at that meeting. What I told her is that, I felt this way, that the council sets policy. We set a policy as to how we're gonna handle, the deer population. And then once we did that, they formed a committee, and of course, that committee can't make changes for us. They should come to the council and say, well, we wanna change this, we wanna do this. They can discuss it at their meeting, but I told her, but they don't set the rules as to how we go about doing it. That's done by the city council. And so I don't know where that's going. I don't know enough about it, other than I got the 3 or 4 complaints, and I told them that I really don't get too involved with how they're doing it. So I just wanted to let you know that might be coming your way.
Is there anything else? Okay, I'm gonna declare a 5-minute recess. Thank you.
Sorry, Charlie.
Yeah, man.
Wasted all that time and money, got tired of chewing on it.
Invitation to go, I don't know. Is that what it is? Yeah, it's public property. I thought you were gonna be like my guy. Oh, okay. Okay, all right.
Are you gonna make all the motions? Right. Well, thank you, I appreciate it. I figured when I said you said you were involved, I was like, you can hear over here. Because it's easier than when you're like bored, like there's like, oh yeah, like when you're just because you don't like that. And when you're sitting, just in a conversation, you're like, you're following. You're like, on Saturday, but you're like probably about, so
Well, thank you.
when I first moved here, they were trying to make this, like, paintball thing. Do you remember? Oh, the one, No, we're just blocking it. Yeah. We are right in the way.
You're right in the way.
Send me your way.
Weird, that's what I heard originally. That's the big level thing, and how it is, that is. I don't know, that'll be a whole other thing.
I'm just saying. Oh, God. I hope not. What's that? Hey, I totally forgot about that. And I got plans already now. Thursday, There'll be questions about, Mark.
I'll find out if I do, if it is,
Oh, you did, okay, yeah.
Good.
I didn't realize that. I guess you wouldn't have. That's not gonna. I was like.
But yeah, I'll,
Yeah, no, you probably have to watch it.
He's in, he said.
Okay. They give us your business.
Yeah.
Good. Very good.
Telling you.
There's lots of
I'm
snow. We don't have to.
Little Jackie, that too, nothing wrong with it.
Oh, good.
I
I
know.
couldn't even say it now.
hey, well, that's really fun.
But the further time, well, it's probably better.
I know how we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, are we ready to start over?
She's all like ready to throw her hand in the air.
All right, the next thing on the agenda is to approve the payroll, Vice Mayor Wells.
I move to approve the December fifth, 2021 through December 18th, 2021 payroll register for $238,337.73.
Second.
There's been a motion made and seconded to approve the December fifth, 2021 through December 18th, 2021 payroll register for $238,337.73. Is there any discussion? Please open online voting.
Online voting is open. Online voting has closed, the motion passes with 7 yeas.
All right, next thing on our agenda is approved accounts payable, Councilman Smith.
I move to approve the accounts payable register for the period of December 17th, 2021 to December 28th, 2021 in the amount of $131,540.86.
Second.
Been a motion made and seconded to approve the accounts payable register for the period of December 17th, 2021 to December 28th, 2021 in the amount of $131,540.86. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please open online voting.
Online voting is open. Online voting has closed, the motion passes with 7 yeas.
Thank you. The next thing on the agenda is, renewal of the Rollins Lodge, license. Vice Mayor Wells.
I move to approve the City of Rollins Lodge number 609 Benevolent and Protective Order of LCPOE number 609 Bingo Pull Tab Gaming License Application from January 4th, 2022 to December 31st, 2022.
Second. There's been a motion made and seconded to approve the City of Rollins, Lodge number 609, Benevolent and Protective Order of Elks, BPOE, number 609, bingo, pull tabs, gaming license application from January 4th, 2022 to December 31st, 2022. Is there any further discussion? Councilman Martinez?
I support this, this motion, but my question is this open to the public? Is the public, can they go into the Elks anytime they want and do a little gambling? They can, it's just for the club only?
Private club.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Please open online voting.
Online voting is open. Online voting has closed. Motion passes with 7 yeas.
Thank you. The next thing on our agenda is to approve the Cheyenne Housing Authority. Councilman Smith?
I move to approve a local agent administrative contract for Cheyenne Housing Authority, hereby continuing to provide our community with this vital and essential housing program, and waive reading of the agreement.
Second. There's been a motion made and seconded to approve a local agent administrative contract with Cheyenne Housing Authority, hereby continuing to provide our community with this vital and essential housing program, and waive reading of the agreement. Is there any discussion? Please open online voting.
Online voting is open.
You're good?
We did review the agreement, and I checked with Vicky Otto, who has been the point person, and we've not had any the city's not had any difficulties with the Cheyenne, Housing Authority in terms of this program.
Okay, thank you. Probably should have asked before we did that, but.
I just seen her over there like,
Sean?
Also, this program, we're gonna move over, or have already moved over to community development, to alleviate legal a little bit. And I think it makes more sense.
Any further discussion? Please open online voting.
We already did.
Oh, I already voted?
Yeah.
Okay, well then what am I doing there?
Online voting closed and the motion passes with 7 yeas.
Okay, thank you. Oh, gosh. Okay, next thing on our agenda is a resolution, general fund loan agreement with enterprise funds. Vice Mayor Wells?
I move to approve the resolution authorizing the general fund loan agreement, which authorizes the execution of an inter-fund loan agreement between the general fund and the enterprise funds. This includes the amounts that were adopted in the 2021-2022 budget, as well as the $812,000 matched with the ARPA funds and other items that have been approved by the council.
Do I hear a second? There's been a motion made and seconded to approve the resolution authorizing the general fund loan agreement, which authorizes the execution of an inter-fund loan agreement between the general fund and the enterprise funds. This includes the amounts that were adopted in the 2021-2022 budget, as well as the $812,000 matched with the ARPA funds and other items that have been approved by council. Is there any discussion? Councilman Smith, thank you.
Yes, Jody, I don't mean to belabor this at all, but as we're all aware, we don't have the audit on those figures yet, and you've made a guesstimate basically to fill in those, based on your figures, to fill in on, I think it was ordinance number 6 or resolution number 6 passing all this. If, when we get our audit in, if those numbers change, do you have the ability to change them to the true audited numbers, do you not?
We do, however, the amounts that are listed in Exhibit A, which is the first one that's gonna go over with you, those amounts are accurate as to what we put in the budget. That is ordinance 6, and that is what we, had to, in the budget, to bring, from the general fund to the enterprise funds so that they would be above 0 and not be negative. So those are actual amounts.
Okay.
assuming that they actually do spend all of that money. If at the end of the year they have not expended those monies, then the amount could be changed to lower.
To reflect the actual amount.
Yes.
And then, one fast thing, and then I'll be quiet. You need this loan agreement to be able to complete the audit for 2021, correct?
I have been asked to, put this in writing for, our previous attorney, and so that's where we're at now. I did have Kathy approve it as to form, and so that's, memorializing what we have as of now. However, when, I wrote this up, I tried to keep the language very general and flexible, so that in the event we had to add more loans to them, then, we could do that through amendment, but that would have to be through an addendum. Would that be correct?
An addendum or an amendment.
I'm sorry.
An addendum or an amendment to the agreement.
Okay. My question is, they do need this though for this year's audit, because without it, then we would not have, is it an auditing thing?
No, it is not.
Okay, it's just cleaning up.
It's just memorializing what has been done and that we do want to treat it as a loan.
Okay.
Because technically, Colorado, 10% has to be, no more than that can come from other funds. I have found that that is unique. Wyoming does not have such a restriction. I have not been able to find one. However, it is an enterprise fund, and those are supposed to operate as a business.
Yeah.
So I do recommend treating it as such.
I'll have more later. Thank you.
Okay.
Councilman Weisenberg, did you have?
That was pretty much it. I wanted to know about the audit situation, with that, because I know we had talked about it during budget, and it was approved during budget, but it was also talked about with the audit not showing the exact numbers that needed to be done.
The exact numbers will come through the, fund balance. Those are my guesstimates. The, budget itself is as accurate as we can get it, and I presume that the expenditures will be made and then some, especially with our water condition and the water enterprise fund. So, but as far as an auditor requiring it, I don't believe that it's required. Is it required by statute? I don't think it is.
Councilman Smith?
I also wanted to know, we've got, I believe, some ARPA funds that are going towards, water. Are these also funds that will be put in those accounts too and be part of this loan agreement, or?
We received $737,000, I believe, $737,980 of the first round of ARPA money, and we did devote all of that to the water fund. And so that is accounted in Exhibit A, because I gave an accounting here of where all the money is coming from, and I do mention that, the $812,000 that we agreed to spend or put over to the water fund is paired with those particular ARPA funds. That's where we did the 1.55 million. That was the best guesstimate of the engineers at that time of what it would cost to do the water, at least for phase one, as I understand it.
ARPA funds, we do not pay back, it's a match for our loan, is that correct?
No, it is, money more aligned with the CARES Act, it's similar to that, but this, does not necessarily have to be used for very specific things.
Okay.
And so, we should get a second match, but that's not guaranteed. The state could review it, or reduce the amount given as much as 50% from my last reading of the ARPA Act. Or they may decide not to give us anything more. So, but there should be a second, distribution of similar amounts, but until I see that, I have to presume we don't get anything.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Any further discussion?
There are some things, if you don't have any more questions, that I do need to go over, and I need to alert you that you do need to make some decisions at a future date. So, I'm actually gonna start at the back of the agreement.
with Exhibit A, like I said, this is the, a listing of all of the activity to date, and that can be changed. Then on the next one, you need to know and have in front of you is the WildStar current rate net of fees. I'm gonna jump back to the beginning of it, but this is where we're gonna have to take reference of how do we calculate an interest rate if we want to calculate an interest rate. So when you look at the Exhibit B, I'm looking at the current yield, which as of November 30th, 2021 was at 0.13%. And, at any rate, that is about what we would earn if we put this, if we had taken these monies and put it into WildStar One, that's what we would be earning interest on. So I don't think if you want to have an interest rate, this is what I would go with. I would go with the last 3 months and take an average of it at the time we commit to have the money, reimbursed to the general fund. So that's my guide that I'm recommending that we use for a legitimate rate. However, you do have the option to have a zero interest rate and not charge them anything. That is an option. You can also forgive the loan at a future date if you so choose. So going to the recital of page, 1 of the agreement, under letter H, I'm just gonna read this especially for the audience. The interest rate to be charged to each of the enterprise funds during the 3 to 5 year grace period is set at 0%. Once repayment commences, the interest rate to be charged to each of the enterprise funds shall be the average of the current yield, the one I just mentioned, net of fees paid by Wyoming and State Investment Pool WildStar One during the previous 3 months immediately prior to the date on which the repayment commences, to be adjusted quarterly. See Exhibit B attached to this document. So what that means is that you have the choice at some future date to decide when you want to have the loans repaid. I do not recommend, I put in there 3 to 5 years because I want to recommend that we do not charge or make them charge interest or make them pay anything back until they have established healthy balances in their fund balance. Now, that balance we'll know for certain once the audits are done. Once that happens, that will give us time to make sure everything is correct, where we want it to be, look at water rates and all that stuff, and make a prudent decision. So I try to keep this very, very flexible. I didn't want to go too draconian on the term. I wanted to keep them flexible. It is at your discretion. If you want to charge an interest rate, you can still keep it at 0. We just have to amend it, which is easy enough to do. So that will be coming at your discretion, how many years. If you want more than 5 years, that's fine. If you want to do 10 years, that's fine. And as I said, you can forgive them, and you do not have to actually charge them.
Yeah, I guess my question to my fellow council people are, what is our intent? I think we probably wanna keep it at 0 and just not pay them off because it's coming out of the general fund. And we're supplementing projects that are emergency projects, particularly in the water fund. And so that would be a decision that we would need to make, but our intent really is, do we wanna pay them back? Or do we wanna say, okay, we subsidize these funds, and then we're gonna be looking at rate increases and things like that down the road? But that's where we're at, and I'm not sure what my recommendation is.
When do we have to make that decision?
I'm recommending in this agreement 3 to 5 years from now, and to keep it at 0% until they have healthy balances. So healthy balance is gonna be determined, one, on the audit, and when are they going to be able to be self-sustaining through their rate. I do recommend increases in them. However, the rate would be an average, typically what I have seen is 3% per year, which overall does not equate to very much. So, but it's enough to get them going. Having gone through a similar situation before, it required a 15% increase. Not to scare anybody, but, that particular entity decided to just pull the Band-Aid and make it so. But you really should see a 3% increase year after year in order to sustain, because if you don't, the cost of operating is going up, but you're not being able to pay for that. And so, I really would like to see them have a healthy balance before they have to pay anything back.
I think zero interest makes sense, cause it's left pocket, right pocket stuff, same,
Yeah.
same pair of pants, but, to address it in 3 to 5 years, by then, we'll have an audit.
You're such a hopeful man.
Well, you can't make a
Yes,
decision, you can't make a decision without it. I mean,
Correct.
really, you just
And
can't.
the numbers could change because they've gone through, the auditors have already gone through, they have met with the former auditor, or at least we have the stuff from him. And I know that there have been a lot of work at their, home office, working on this, but I don't know where we're standing as far as fund balances, I still don't know that. It could be less, it could be worse, we just don't know.
It's gonna be a while before we know, when they come on, they're coming the 14th, right?
The 10th through the 17th, but I think they need through the 14th, I will be confirming that.
But that's not, we're not gonna find out anything from them.
No,
They're
not
gonna come here and get
mid-February.
information, is that correct? Am I thinking right?
They're, unless it changes, they're expecting to have the first audit, which is the 2020 fiscal year, done about mid-February or so. And then they'll jump in and it'll take another 2 months for them to finish the 2021.
Okay. Councilman Weissenberg?
I would agree to how you said 0%, you know, I do wanna see it repaid no matter what. I understand if it was emergency funds, emergency situations needed funded, you know, at that point in time. I don't wanna see it forgive for sure because of the enterprise fund, but, I would agree to the 0%, but I wanna see an audit to know exactly how much we have to put in there, you know, I hate to agree to something here, not knowing a true number, right? I mean, we don't even know the true number, the number's $3 million in Exhibit A there, and we don't even truly know that yet.
I think this is something that can be reversed. If the numbers are better than, and on the other hand, if they're worse, then we're gonna have to approach it a different way and probably, you know, through rate increases and such like that. I mean, our enterprise funds should pay for themselves, and to loan them money and not expect to be repaid is subsidizing them in a way that, I don't believe enterprise funds should be done. So we're gonna have to watch what we do. I don't wanna raise rates to where people are hurting from it, but we also have to pay for I don't wanna end up with one filter working again in the water department, you know what I mean?
And I totally understand and agree to that, and, you know, with what you're saying, but there's, you know, other things that's been discussed that's not fair across the board when you got flat rates going out other places for individuals that could just use thousands of gallons of water during a time where we couldn't use but 5,000 or 3,000, whatever it was on our restrictions. It's not fair, so I couldn't even think about a rate increase, and on top of that, you know, we had all talked about and had a work session with St. Clair to possibly help fund a lot of that stuff, so that could be a situation where it would not necessarily decrease the rates to the citizens, but prevent the increase that would prevent a 3% or a 15% or whatever. I know that kind of income coming into an enterprise fund makes a substantial difference.
Councilman Smith?
I guess my feeling is that if we do no harm, basically 0%, and then as our treasurer has recommended, the 3 to 5 year payback, and then the council at that time can decide whether they wanna pay it back, or if we have the funds. But in the meantime, we know we're gonna have to address some of our enterprise funds, but we can't do it till we have an audit. So given that, I would support the motion, I guess, and just say 0 and 3 to 5 and let it set, and if we have to, we can bring it back up.
I
But
agree.
I just wanna make one clarification, just to be perfectly clear, is the 3 to 5 is a grace period of where they don't pay anything. We don't, and we can extend that if that's the case. But I think it will take 3 to 5 years to build it back up. And so we don't want to add any more burden to what already is presumed to be there. And so I think they need at least the 3 to 5 years of a grace period.
I think a lot of dust will settle in that amount of time also. All right, any further discussion? Please open online voting.
Online voting is open. Online voting has closed, the motion passes with 7 yeas.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next thing on our agenda is an executive session, Vice Mayor Wells.
I'm going to enter into executive session at 9:36 PM per Wyoming statute 16.405. To consider or receive any information classified as confidential by law, and to consider the appointment, employment, right to practice, or dismissal of a public officer, professional person, or employee, or to hear complaints or charges brought against an employee, professional person, or officer, unless the employee, professional person, or officer requests a public hearing. The governing body may exclude from any public or private hearing during the examination of a witness, any or all other witnesses in the matter being investigated. Following the hearing or executive session, the governing body may deliberate on its own decision in executive session.
Second.
Been a motion made and seconded to go into executive session. Please open online. Is there any discussion? Open online voting, please. I'm not reading it. No reason to.
Online voting is open. Can you hold on? Councilmember DeBarry, Martinez, I'm sorry. You voted nay. Is that what you're saying?
I'm going to the executive session.
Okay, I just needed to clarify.
You're supposed to tell us all so we can go home.
Okay, online voting has closed and the motion passes.
Is that why you were laughing?
Yeah.